Yo, what is up, everyone? Today we are doing another podcast, another stream this week. We're going to be talking about some interesting topics. The title actually kind of gives it away a little bit. We're going to let Bizzo get onto that FSG business in a second. But before we start, we've got a new guest over here, Farhan. What's up, man? Liverpool fan as well.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, and then we've got Finn, Gaz, and Bizzo as well. So first, guys, I want to talk about, and to be fair, I've seen it on so many streams. Why I wait is I love to watch some of the Liverpool podcasts, all the Liverpool streams after the games, listen to their reactions, and kind of ponder on it before I do my own little stream. And a lot of people criticizing Thiago, and I'm not gonna lie, it's getting on the mind a little bit. Finn, I'm going to start with you. Welford, do you know what? I never even knew your name was Finn. Wilfred, we're going to start with you, yeah? What do you make of Thiago? Because we know he was world class in Germany. Why is he just not working in our team?
Yeah, it is a tough one, but I feel like for me it's a bit unfair the way people are judging him. I feel like this time last year we were like 23 wins, 1 draw, unbeaten in the league, and we were flying. And I feel like if you put Thiago in that team, he'd fly as well. He'd be getting assists, he'd be being one of these amazing creative players. But I feel like for me, if you just look at our team, it's not just him who's necessarily having bad games. We've seen Mane, Firmino being off it for the past couple of weeks. The defense isn't right, so it's on people's minds, and everyone in that team knows it's not the strongest Liverpool team we have. But I was thinking this, to be fair, the other day, and if you had Thiago in that team last year when we won the league, we were so dominant in every game. He'd fit perfectly in that team, on the ball, springing passes left, right, and centre. But I feel like for me, a lot of people just are looking at him when Liverpool lose or when Liverpool have a bad game. Everyone's just like, Thiago, he's meant to be sick. He was world class for Bayern, and he was. And for me, at like the first couple of games, I was letting him off a bit, but now he does need to improve. I'm not saying that I'm not letting him go because how bad we've been, but it would be nice to see an improvement. Maybe get an assist or a goal to boost his confidence. But a lot of people are slagging him off and saying he's not worth it. He's not a class player. I think that's just a load of balls, in my opinion, because he's not in the full strength squad. He's not in the best squad he can be, but he does need to improve massively because he has been poor. But I just feel like for people that are slagging him off, it's too early to do that. And when all the boys are back, when we have our strongest team, he fits in there perfect. And I'm sure we'll see a different Thiago.
You know what? Does everyone here agree with that? I think that was very well said.
Yeah, spot on. Nail on the head there, mate.
That makes that point quite boring. All right, cool. We're going to move on to actually what was the main point of tonight's discussion. So I was actually watching a video just before this on FSG and what they've actually done for our club and stuff like that. And there's been so much talk of FSG out. And sorry, Darren, I'm going to skip you. I'm going to let Bizzo go first. Don't worry, this discussion is going to be going on a bit. But Bizzo, I'm just going to ask you, are you FSG out or FSG in?
It shouldn't even be a topic of discussion, mate. It's absolute madness, this. It's absolute madness. Like, I have not watched any streams on people saying FSG out. I don't care what theories they've got as to why they shouldn't be as part of the club. The whole success comes down to the fact that they've laid the foundations for the club over the last few years. We've turned into a powerhouse in world football because of FSG. It's not solely because of Klopp. It's the business they've done. It's the stadium expansion that they've done. It's the fact that they're rejuvenating the area. They've rejuvenated the fan base. All the fans are behind the team. All of a sudden now, you can put a lot of that down to Klopp and the management. But first and foremost is the owners of the club. And Liverpool fans should not be going down this rabbit hole now where we turn into an Arsenal fan TV or any of these other channels. Like, I hate the Glazers, I hate Stan Kroenke, I hate this man, We need to get rid of that slut upstairs. It's like all that stuff needs to just disappear from Liverpool, because it is not even, in my opinion, it's absolutely nothing to do with the decline of the team this year. Absolutely nothing. It's got no bearing on it whatsoever. You can argue that, yeah, we should have bought a big name defender in the January transfer window. Fine, argue that. But the fact of the matter is, you look on paper at those defenders and we didn't need one at the start of the season. So why would we buy one now? Why would we buy one in a time of crisis, which is just going to cause unrest when all 4 of them are fit again and you can't play one of them? That's the theory behind it. That's why we've got to do a bit of bargain hunting. That's why the likes of Kabak on loan, I think, is a great bit of business, considering we were being linked with him in summer for 25, 30 million. And to get him on loan for as cheap as we have, and bring in another defender in case it all goes wrong with him, which now he might be called upon because obviously Henderson's out. But this is nothing to do. It's nothing to do with the owners. Like it absolutely cracks me up that people actually saying it. Some guy was slating them on my Twitter. Like after I did that football terrace, he was just saying, "Oh, it's all down to FSG not backing Klopp." I was like, "How?"
Twitter has got to be the most poisonous place to look after.
Oh, mate. He was trying to tell me how bad Bobby Firmino was, and Bobby Firmino was his profile picture. He's like, what do you want to do with this, mate? Like, where do you want to go with this conversation? I entertain now and again, but it's horrendous. It's a horrendous topic to start filtering in that they're to blame for this. It's like it just is.
But see, look, I massively agree with you there, Bizzo. Yeah, but some of the arguments that I've seen is obviously the first one, the January transfer window. We should have made a bigger signing, and if not, we should have made a signing at least earlier during the window. The other one is apparently there was a little rift between them and Jurgen Klopp, where Klopp suggested that he wanted to spend a certain amount of money on a player, but they were against it. And
is that Koulibaly? Is that the Koulibaly rumours? Yeah, but he's massively overpriced. Why would you pay £75 million for a 29-year-old centre back from Napoli? Napoli aren't even like a highly performing team at the moment. He doesn't make any headlines. So I agree. But like you've got to put business decisions as well as the fact that I want this player. If the player doesn't work out for you, then you don't put the investment into the player. There's no point buying spending that amount of money on a 29-year-old defender, especially with our track record at the moment. Why would he fork out that amount of money for a defender who with our track record at the moment could be injured within a few weeks with the congested schedule that he's got? There's no sense behind it.
Exactly. Well, there's even talk of 90 million, isn't that for him? I think 75 is probably being nice, Bizzo. Yeah, I think there's probably 90 to 100 million. No, absolutely not 29.
He was getting linked with City for about 65, 70, wasn't he, in the summer?
Yeah.
Like, why has he gone up 20 million? Like, we're in a pandemic.
Yeah.
This is what FSG are good at, in my opinion. And Michael Edwards, they can find players that are worth the money. Jota's a prime example. Like, you try buying Jota in 2-3 years' time, he's not going to be 40 million. And then selling one of our players, Kijana Hoover, to back to Wolves, like that's a shrewd bit of business. That's what they're about. That's why they're so good at what they do.
Yeah. Well, look, can I jump in there, Saif? Because I'd a bit. I know it's a bit controversial when it comes to FSG, but it's definitely one of the topics I've been on shows talking about before. When obviously the times are good for us, but look, at the highs are nothing without the lows, as they say, and. It was only over 10 years ago we were almost in administration. The club was on its knees. It was Gillette and Hicks in charge. It was Roy Hodgson. We had Raul Meireles playing for us. We Konchesky. You know what I mean? We were in an awful place. Blackpool had beaten us 2-1. We dropped into the relegation zone. In the last couple of seasons, we've made 550 million, I think, in revenues, which is huge money. And we're going to be one of the clubs that will weather this storm of COVID, the impact. Like, the club is going to, I think, lose out between 40 to 50 million in this pandemic with no attendances, with, club shops not open and stuff like that. So FSG, at the end of the day, they're businessmen. Do you know what I mean? And we have to accept, as much as that they're at the club, and we've had our best success and probably the best Liverpool team. Anybody that's out living the last 50 or 60 years, this is probably the best Liverpool team in terms of you got everything. You know what I mean? With the hottest ticket in town, it was intensity, it was the best football. We are getting some incredible results. Like last season and the season before, we broke records for fun. You know what I mean? Now, I know the records are going against us this time around, but as I said, the highs are nothing without the lows, and it's a part of sport and it's a part of being a supporter. And you know what I mean? We more than any other club have been through the worst of the worst, and we've also had the highest of the highest. And FSG, look, they're a part of it, as Bizzo said. Like, that they've done some wonderful stuff for us. They've come in, they've been very shrewd, but they've been clever. And I mean, you look at the signings we got. Like, we spent less than 100 million on our front three, and probably up to last season, like more so than now, to be huge money. Like the improvements of them, Andy Robertson. Like, I can go on about signings and players they brought in and how good they are now, but also their value and price has gone up. So they've left us in a really good position financially. Now, look, at the moment, you see stuff on Twitter and all sorts and mainstream media. Of course, people are going to question Klopp, Firmino and FSG because the shit has hit the fan now. You know what I mean? Stuff is really we've went against the grain this season, and this wasn't written in the script as what happens. And that's normal, but I just ignore the noise. Just look, a couple of months ago, I was one of the Liverpool fans that was delighted we addressed our left full position with someone that, when he played for Olympiacos in the Europa League against, wasn't it, Adama Traore of Wolves, he was exceptional, yeah. And against Arsenal, he was exceptional. And we all thought, okay, we didn't get Jamal Lewis, we bring in Tsimikas. He's not going to be like Andy Robertson, but he's going to need time to bed in. We know the profile of player brought in at a good age. Well, I was one of them. Okay, I'm really happy with that. We addressed it early. We've 2 decent left full backs there. We brought in world class profile like Thiago. All of us were buzzing after that. I don't care what anyone says. He hasn't been great at the moment, but we were all buzzing. Do you know what I mean? This was probably the highest profile signing a ready-made player since probably Torres, I'd say, because like you could say Suarez, but when Suarez came, he wasn't at the world-class element where Torres was. That's just my opinion on it, you know, but I'm sure the lads will probably have a different theory on it. We brought in Jota back up, 2 years Premier League experience. He was really good at Wolves, but he came to Wolves and he's gone to a different level.
He's not phenomenal. A backup anymore. He's not a backup anymore.
Yeah, well, that's true.
He needs to be starting next week.
At the time, we were all, well, he's going to keep the front three on his toes, be a backup. But he's soon, or rather than later, got into that team and implemented well. And it's like, I thought we'd done good business somewhere. Nobody could have foreseen injuries to your 3 main centre halves and being out for the period they're out for in Gomez, Van Dijk, and Matip. No one would have foreseen that. Fabinho got his injuries. Alisson, Trent had COVID. Salah, Mane, Thiago was out for a long month. And then when one player comes in, 2 seem to go out. Another player comes back, another 1 or 2 is out. Now Jota, you know what I mean, is out. But look at, as they say, at the end of the storm's a golden sky and all that. So we'll be optimistic and hope that things do turn out for us. But in relation, going back to the point with FSG, we can't be too critical of them, you know what I mean, lads? And we do have to understand that they are businessmen as well. And we were all singing their praises and talking about doing it the right way and the smart way. And Klopp has only spent £100 and something million net spend, but he's delivers the Holy Grail, a European Cup winner. Because if you want to kind of pick out holes, you could say, well, all the money and the power City have done over the years, yes, they've won titles, they've won back-to-back titles, they've won domestic cups, they've dominated, but they haven't won the European Cup, that elusive Europe. They haven't even got to a semi-final. So, you know, you have to be kind of careful what you wish for, you know what I mean? And that's why I always say, enjoy the highs while they're there, milk them up, because you'll always have lows, and it's just a part of being a supporter, you know what I mean? Like, this is the bit what it is.
This is the bit that annoys me though with it, because it's like when we are doing our really low net spend and we're signing the Manes and the Salah, we shove it in people's faces. Oh, we've not spent any money. We don't need to spend money to win championships. And now suddenly, because we're in a bit of an emergency, it's like, why have we not spent any money? But it's like that isn't how this works. Like you look at the business FSG have done over the years. They've managed to sign Mane at Coops at like a minimal amount of money in today's market. Salah, minimal amount of money. Firmino, a minimal amount of money. Van Dijk in today's market is 75 million a steal, considering Harry Maguire went to Man United a few months later for 80 odd million, and that's farcical. It's just like you've got to appreciate what they've done as a business, and it's not at the fact that they're running the club as a business, which is the problem why we're in the issue that we're in now, because it's not, because they are backing us. They're not. You can't say that the manager isn't being backed just because based off one fabricated story that Koulibaly was linked with us and we won't pay that amount of money. It's absolutely crackers.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I don't agree with any of you lot anymore, because I was saying I was watching that video before the game. So our match day revenue on a normal match day, obviously not during COVID, is £11 million, and they've done so much to create a bigger business out of Liverpool, because there was a time, like Darren was saying, before they came in, we almost couldn't financially compete with some of the bigger clubs, and it was only a matter of time. If we carried on going like that, it's great that we're a club with culture, and it's great that we're a very English style club, but it was only a matter of time before we were struggling financially and won't be able to compete in the top level anymore. FSG came in, they built the new part, the addition to the main stand. They did so much, to be honest, and then they actually went and splashed out a decent amount of money, and not just splashed it out like wildly trying to fix a problem like Man United did with Harry Maguire. They took their time, they thought about it, and in fact, probably 8 out of the 10 subs they've made are very good investments. Like you were just mentioning the whole list of them before. And it just, to me, it frustrates me so much with this whole thing.
And the Nike deal as well. They were a big part in that. They had a heavy hand, apparently, if you read into close sources with Nike. And that's huge, whereas when you had LeBron James coming out, Drake, you know what I mean, with the Nike and the revenue that's going to get into the club. But Nike alone, I think it was like the finance point that are huge. But this is all to go forward in. And not only that, you talk to people around the world, when they were selling New Balance in certain parts of the world, the Liverpool jersey, to order them online, pay a shipping fee, it turned out to be probably 20, 30 pound more expensive. Well, you can buy Nike now and anywhere in the world in most sports shops. So, you know, they've improved the culture in that way in terms of whatever side of the world you live on, whether what part of the globe, you'll be able a lot easier to purchase Nike, and it's a huge sponsor to us as well. And financially, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, that's what football and the sport we love has come down to. A huge part of it is finance.
Definitely.
The modern day.
I'm going to ask for Han because you've been a bit quiet. Yeah. So with like this whole talk about FSG and everything, so they made the signing of Kabak and Davies quite late into the transfer window. Do you think they made the right decision in signing, not signing them on, but even getting them on loan deals? And do you think that they could have maybe gone for someone better?
I think they did what they thought was best because it was pretty last minute, but they really needed a defender, someone who knows the position as well. Maybe because Henderson and Fabinho would do much better up in midfield than in defense. So I think he went for them. You know, maybe sort of panic, but moreover like a very logical decision. But we still have yet to see the best of them. Like we have to see, I mean, the best of Thiago as well. But we just have to give them time. You know, it's like coming into the Premier League from different leagues is not a very easy process. You know, they have to settle in. They just have to like, you know, get some more time. Same defenders. I just hope they do well. I mean, Kabak has got 3 yellow cards consistently.
So you're fighting, I'll tell you that much. So no, do you know what? You're right, because I remember when Fabinho came into the club, and I'll be honest, at the beginning, I was not his biggest fan. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, my dad will be a witness to that because he used to come on, make mistakes, lose the ball, get
he used to make a lot of mistakes. When I remember going to the game every weekend, me and my granddad would be sat there looking at each other, going, "Why have you paid this money?" But now he's one of those crucial players in the club, and I totally agree with what everything you said. Then it's just like the business that for me, with FSG, I don't have a problem with them at all, and what Bizzo and Darren said, I feel like for me, they've got such a massive part in our success for the past 20 months. I feel like for me, like obviously because I'm only younger, a lot younger than all you lot. Like one of my main players growing up when I was proper into football was Coutinho, and we let him go, and that was a sad day at the club. But you think about it, that was actually a great bit of business. We brought in the best keeper in the world and the best centre half in the world, and now they've made us into going for top 4, trying to get Champions League, to trying to win the league, the Champions League, the FA Cup every single year, and the business he does. And the thing I like as well, if in our situation we lost so many defenders and so many backup midfielders that played in centre half, and if that was United, City, Chelsea, they'd go and buy Upamecano, Koulibaly, they'd go and buy a 60 million centre half just to put in the gap for 6 months. Whereas Liverpool, they know what they're doing. They know, as Bizzo said before, there's going to be 3-4 proper professional centre halves that are very good for Liverpool. They'll be back in 6 months, and then you'll start panicking with wages. And so for me, the business FSG did with Kabak and Davies is exceptional. And Kabak, for me, I like him so far, and he's done us very proud. And it's very hard to come into a team like Liverpool when you've conceded like 60 goals so far this season in your club in Germany, and the way Liverpool are at a club, they're a bit shaky, so many bad results. It's quite hard to come in, and they've both looked like they've fitted in very well. And we've not seen Davies yet, but I reckon he'll be class as well. And the business they do is just unbelievable, and they'll never ever really go out and spend buy another £80 million player unless that's someone like Mbappe or Haaland, which we can fingers crossed for the next couple of years. But the business they do is amazing, and I agree with what Bazo, Darren and Farah said.
I completely agree. You know, Finn, sometimes I forget you're 14 years old. You've got more football knowledge than most of us here.
Yeah.
Farhan, I know you wanted to get some steam off the game against Everton. It was very difficult to watch. If Conor, I'll move on to you next year, but Farhan, I want to ask you, if FSG aren't the problem, what is the problem? Like, what was wrong against the game? Well, what was wrong against Everton in the Merseyside derby? Like, what happened?
Same thing. Problem with the Man City game. Same thing that was the problem with the Brighton game. Same thing that was the problem with the Burnley game. I feel like all this success, all this fame that has come to Liverpool, I feel like it may have gone to their heads a little bit, where they think that they can be that they're unstoppable. You know, I don't know. I just feel like they're not giving it as much as they used to before. And what I don't understand is like, so in the last few years, yes, we made some amazing signings: Salah, Mane, Firmino, Alisson, Van Dijk. But some of my other favorite signings that I don't really get to see play as much, like Chamberlain, Shaqiri, Naby Keita, obviously, with his injuries, I understand. But if you look at the 17-18 season, who's the guy who was Man City's nemesis? It was Chamberlain. I remember that midfield that was just doing so well in that season, even in the Champions League. Chamberlain was just crucial in that midfield. His long shots against Man City, mind-blowing. But I think Klopp needs to just like change players, change a little bit of style of playing sometimes. Like what he did last season with against Everton. Divock Origi started, he scored 2 goals. Shaqiri scored a goal, a really good goal too. But I think he really needs to like, change formation, change the players a little bit, rotate, and maybe you could bring some spark again,
So just before you end it, if there was like, I don't want to pick on one player to say there was like a weak point in the team, but if there was like one big change you had to make on that first 11 that we've had starting so regularly, who would you take off and who would you bring on to join that first 11 in the next game?
I'd take off Wijnaldum.
Thank you. Someone has finally said it.
You see, I don't think that's a big change, though. I don't think Wijnaldum a big
no matter
change.
who you put in, because the midfield for Liverpool, they just work hard. You could put any single midfield in that midfield. Chamberlain, Naby, Fabinho, Henderson, none of them are going to score you a goal. So for me, just get Firmino off, put Jota in, because that's where it's lacking. Wijnaldum can tackle, defend, he can pass the ball forward. You need a bigger impact. You need someone who can go and win you a game, go and get you an assist, go and impact the game a lot further up the pitch and make it a big impact, not just someone who can pass a ball 5 seconds quicker than Wijnaldum.
But Wijnaldum needs dropping. But see, on your point, Farhan, I do agree with. See, the thing is with Chamberlain, and I've always liked Chamberlain, and he's kind of the go-to. He's a scapegoat a lot. But the problem is with Chamberlain, right, is he's really not good at just coming into a game in one game and being good. He needs a run of games, and it's football, and he's just not going to get the time at Liverpool to do that anymore. It'll be the same with Naby Keita. I mean, people will say like Liverpool not having a good bench. They've got 100 million on the bench at the weekend there with Naby Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain. I agree. I'm actually a big fan of Chamberlain, but for me, it's a bit like the Danny Ings for me right now with Chamberlain, in the sense is he needs to get somewhere where he's going to play all the time, because he came on against Leipzig and you can tell it's annoying him. You can tell he just can't get up to the pace quickly. But you can tell, Finn, he's much smarter than that. He knows what he wants to do.
I know, it's not his fault. I know, and as you said, you can't physically get a run of games. He needs to have them 4 or 5 games where he gets a goal in the odd game. And we've seen it last year. We've seen like again, he scored that wonder goal. He was doing well in the league. And look at Minamino, he's gone off, and I was a big fan of him just to have there. And he's gone to Southampton, 2 goals in 3 games, 2 very good goals as well. And he looks comfortable, looks like he can play in that team for 85 minutes. And Chamberlain can get into a lot of teams like Southampton, maybe West Ham, Villa. You've got that player to go there who can get a couple of games, and then Liverpool can start looking, because I bet your Klopp's looking at Minamino going, he's a different player over there. What are we doing wrong? We need to get him back ASAP, you know what I mean? And I totally agree with what you said, Conrad, about Chamberlain. He does need a run of games, and you can't have that at Liverpool. You can't go, oh, sorry, Wijnaldum, I'm not going to play you, because Chamberlain, I know, can get going after 4 games.
But we should be doing that with Wijnaldum, though. This is what frustrates me with Wijnaldum. He's not
you just
I don't like
you just don't want him in that team.
I don't like it, mate.
I like Wijnaldum.
Listen. Wijnaldum's a brilliant midfielder. I love him. I think he's one of the most competent midfielders Liverpool have had for a number of years, right? But it's not right that he's playing as much as he is at the moment. It isn't right. I don't care what anyone says. You can't convince me otherwise. That a guy that has not signed a contract, or is not committed to the club, or is not speaking on his future about the club, should not be playing this amount of games for the team. It's part of the factor why we play badly, because there's uncertainty everywhere. That's why Salah gets dragged in, or Salah might be going to Bayern Munich, Salah might be getting a transfer out. And it drives me up the wall that he's getting this amount of games. You've literally just said Chamberlain needs a run of games in the team. Give him his run of games in the team. He's the one that's going to want to play them. He's going to want to stay more than Wijnaldum's going to want to stay. In my head, Wijnaldum's got his plane tickets to Barcelona booked already. Otherwise, he would have committed to the team already.
Do you think it would have made a difference for the fans, Genie, and for the team going forward, if he even had to come out and said he's leaving and what have you, but saying nothing seems like there is a lot of uncertainty, does it? I think it would have, like, if he said he's staying or he's gone.
Uncertainty,
just saying nothing.
Uncertainty just brings gossip, and gossip isn't good for a club at the end of the day. It doesn't. In layman's terms, with what Wijnaldum's doing is he's keeping his options open until the end of the season, and he's trying to limit the damage. If he comes out and says, "I'm going to be going at the end of the season," I know for a fact we wouldn't play him as much as we are playing him. He's just keeping his cards close to his chest. He's probably been told by his agent, just keep it going. If you keep playing well, you will get offered this money that you're after. It's obviously about that. It's his last big contract. He wants a lot of money. Otherwise, he's got a contingency planning going to Barcelona to link up with Coleman at the end of the season on a free. So I don't agree. I don't agree with it. I think a player like him, he should make his bed and he should lie in it, and then we can move on from it, because this uncertainty isn't helping the team. And it doesn't matter what anyone says. This is my opinion on it. And I've had it for the duration of the time when he's been having these contract talks, and then they've been breaking down, they've been halting. Right. Well, where are we going? What direction are we going in here? Oh no, it's all right. You're in the starting lineup this weekend, so it doesn't matter. We'll sort it later. It just doesn't make sense to me. Just get it sorted.
I get everything you just said, and I totally agree. It's just like, if Liverpool somehow manage to do well in the Champions League, and then Wijnaldum has a good spell in that, Liverpool go, Greg, we'll pay you that extra 20 grand to stay. And I totally agree with you mean, but I feel like for me, at this moment in time, what you just said would be happening if it was a different period for Liverpool. I think the amount of injuries we've had, the amount of midfielders that play a lot for Liverpool over the past couple of months and seasons, they've not got any of them available. You can't throw Firmino in there. I feel like if you had Firmino, Henderson, Chamberlain, Naby, if you had them fit for the full, if they were all fit now, he probably wouldn't be getting played as much. But for me, I would feel less confident if you had a midfield of Jones, Thiago and Chamberlain than have Wijnaldum. I think the reason why Klopp's having to play him is because he's the only one who puts a shift in every week. He's the only one who can perform, and he's probably been our best midfielder this season. I just think we'd get smacked up even more if Chamberlain was putting that midfield over him. But I do get what you're saying, and it should be happening, and Naby is back, so I think you could give Naby a go in the midfield, which I do agree with, but I just don't think Chamberlain's good enough to fill the boots of Wijnaldum, and I just feel like he's not that midfielder that would work hard. He'll want to come back and defend. But I do get your point. I totally agree. With
Wijnaldum, I agree to an extent. Like I said, I think he's a very competent midfielder. However, he doesn't. He wouldn't be on my list of like standout players this season. He does everything well. He's competent. He does his job well. He doesn't set the world alight. And I think that Conroy's mentioned this in the past, that if you want to build a dynasty, you're gonna have to go out and you're gonna have to get the players to keep the machine moving and things like that. And there are a few players that need to move on. And I do feel like he's getting to the stage now where he should move on. I know we've had to rely on him a lot this season, and he's done wonders for the club. But a lot of players come through and do wonders for the club, and they eventually move on, and it's just part and parcel of the game. And I think with Wijnaldum, I just don't appreciate. Don't appreciate is a bad term. I just don't understand why this lack of commitment just hangs a cloud over him. If he comes out and says, "Listen, I've been offered a contract at Barcelona. I'm going at the end of the season," and then us as fans, we wouldn't be mad at that. I wouldn't be mad at a player wanting to go and play for Barcelona.
I agree. I think he will go. I think he'll be gone.
I do. Just come out and say it, mate. Just come out and say it. Tell us.
Do you think that might be though? It might be, but do you know, like these things? It might be. Sorry, Finn, but you think it might actually be the opposite? It might that he actually wants to stay, but they're not offering him the money. They're not going to give him the contract.
But he can't really come out. Yeah, he can't come out and go, "Oh, I do want to stay here, but these aren't offering the amount of money I want." That's going to cause things in the club. You don't want that to happen. And I feel like for me, if he says that in this moment in time, it's just going to make the club more pressure on everyone as well to come out and say, "I do want to stay." But I think Conrad's got it on the nail on the head there. I think he'd rather stay. We get loved more. He's got better chances of succeeding, because Barca in the league, they're not even in the top four at the minute. They're struggling there. They're not going to do anything in the Champions League with PSG battering them. And I feel like in his head, he thinks, "I want to stay," but these need to budge and they need to pay me up a bit more. But I do agree with you saying, Bizzo. I think if he come out and said, "I'm going to go," or "I'm staying," there'd be a lot more insurity around the club, and we'd know, you know what I mean, to give him the rest when he needs it and that. But I feel this moment in the club where we're at with the position in the league, the form, the players that are out, it'd be a very ballsy move and a very weird move to come out and say, I need more money to stay, or I'm going to go.
I don't want him to come out and say I need more money, because I don't think any player who's trying to get a contract for more money would do that. I think he should come out and say he wants to stay, because then that offers us as fans the realization that he wants to commit to the club, and it would also push the fans to give him the money that he's after.
Yeah.
We as fans, we'd be like, we don't want Ginny to go. He wants to stay at the club. Give him what he wants. Give him what he wants. Let him stay. At the moment, there's a question mark over his head as to how we're going to perform this season. And at the moment, let's be honest. Yeah. Any player that's playing in a team that's playing this shit at the moment is going to be looking at his options at the end of the season. And if he's got Barca pecking down his ear, then he's got a very
There could also be, sorry there, Finn, there could also be a bigger picture to this, that maybe we have someone like maybe FSG, Michael Edwards, Trevor, Jurgen Klopp in the background, have someone as a long-term target for us that's younger, going to come in full of energy, probably even be more creative. And we don't know this. Like, I mean, you go back to a couple of seasons ago when we saw Coutinho, I think we were all on the floor with that and thought, FSG have done it again. We've sold a player at 140 million. Okay, it was huge money, but we sold them and we became a bit of a selling club where we were getting rid of some of our best players for big money, but we weren't really using that money. Now, there was a statement made when we signed Firmino after the Champions League. Then we went out and brought in Virg and Alisson, you know what I mean? And it was a good spine to the team there, because you're keeper, centre back and you're holding midfielder. And we walked around that. And obviously, hindsight's a great thing. We look back now and say that was great. But we could look back in a year's time or 6 months, whatever, and say that was great with what happened with Gini. He was told he was coming kind of, because I think his best years, to be fair, are probably he's gave to Liverpool. He wasn't this good at Newcastle. We've had 5 seasons out. He's got a lot of assists, couple of goals. You know, he's been a big, massive contribution.
Semi-finals, 3 goals in Champions League semi-finals. Not many midfielders have done that.
He's been a massive.
We have this argument about Divock Origi though. Divock Origi scores some big goals for us, and none of us want him in the team anymore. So what is the same? Why is it the same?
I don't know. Right.
I don't want to change the conversation too much, but it'll be quite interesting if we started Origi against Sheffield.
No, he's not. If he starts, honestly, God, I've had enough. This season's a write-off.
I knew everyone was going to disagree with me. We made 28 crosses against Everton. Who the hell is even in the box to win them? Firmino's outside the box, and
Origi wouldn't do anything. Origi'd still get bullied off the ball by Michael.
I think he'd get bullied off anyone. Yeah, I think the topic is why are we doing that?
Put the ball in the box all the time.
That's another topic, safe in the sense of Farhad mentioned about the formation, but for me it's like people sometimes talk about football like it's rocket science. Now, to win big things, it's probably tactical genius, but see if something's not working, it's schoolboy stuff. If it's not working, try something different. It's not rocket science. It's pretty obvious. It's Mike Bassett, play a 4-4-2, but I'm only joking, like a 4-2-3-1. Just try something different.
That's the main topic here. There's no FSG. There's no FSG out. It's nothing to do with
FSG done nothing wrong. They've done good. They've brought centre halves.
The only thing I'd say, guys, the only thing I'd say on FSG just before we go by it, see, I'm not one of the FSG out. The only problem I've got is I think a lot of things they could do would get fans on side. So see the January transfer window. I can't pronounce his name. Was it Kelleher or from Marseille? Now, I'm not saying he's going to be better in Quebec, but the reason they couldn't sign him is because they done it too late, because they made the mind up after Matip and Fabinho. Now, I understand clubs don't make decisions all the time because of fans. They look at like the business sense of it. But see if they just signed him for 20 million, it's not a lot of money, right? At the start of the window, or whoever they got at the start of the window, they could have got their number one priority instead of having to wait on Mustafi for Schalke. See if that happens. 90% of Liverpool fans are happy with that. But see, because they didn't do that, so that's a space of 3 weeks. You know, there might be business reasons behind it or whatever. But when I look at that, and then I look at when they won the Champions League, we didn't really sign anybody. We just signed Adrian and Sepp van den Berg, right? Now, again, you might look at the team you've got, you can't add to that. I'm on the fence with it. But see that thing in January, that's the one thing that annoyed me, because that simple change would have got a lot of fans behind. Now, we're saying Quebec, right? But I think Quebec for me is already at -5 with his first 2 performances out of 3. He could be brilliant, but I just think like that's the one thing that annoys me. See, that little difference could get a lot of fans behind.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's 50-50. Like we're been quite positive about FSG, but there's numerous fan channels right now who are wanting them out. And then it's quite ironic though, because Liverpool fans are great at making their voices heard, as Finn and Safe have got season tickets. But right now you're not in stadiums, so you can't boycott a game. And as much as fans don't like to hear that, there's still a lot we can do. But it's quite interesting how it's quite mixed now on FSG, and I would say I'm not against it, because I kind of like the way we've bought players who are good and made them great, i.e. Mane, Salah, even Jota potentially looks like that right now. But the only thing I would say is little things. It's little things. If they'd been done a bit smarter, I think they would have a bigger majority of the fans behind them. I don't know if you agree with that. There's little things they could do.
But why are we saying this now? Like if you had said at the end of last season when we won the league, or if you'd have gone up to 100 people in the street, how many do you reckon you would have said, "Oh, do you agree with our owners? Do you like them?" And then put the mic in the face. Do you reckon they'd have said, "Yeah" or "No"?
All of them.
It's just the fact. All this is. It's just. This is just. We're running out.
We're doing well. When it's not
everyone's just looking at a channel to focus all the blame on, and we're at the point where we're at the owners now, because we've been through the plays, we've been through the injuries, we've been through the fact Van Dijk's gone. Now we're at the stage where it's the owner's fault list, and it's not the owner's fault at all that we're playing bad. It's the list of unfortunate events that we've had, and the contributions to this season have all been part and parcel of why we've done so badly this season at the end of the day. And the fact that it's come down to the point where, as Daz said earlier in the show, this FSG rebuilt us from teetering on the edge of championship football at one stage, and having Paul Konchesky at left back and Christian Poulsen on a free as our marquee signings. It was like horrendous days to watch Liverpool Football Club, and they've turned it around single-handedly with the business that they've done. So,
come on, Jurgen Klopp is not exactly their decision. That's the biggest no-brainer in world football. So it's like, I don't think another manager could do what Jurgen Klopp would do, though. So
I think Jurgen Klopp is more to blame for us underperforming this season than FSG.
Yeah, definitely. FSG can't be for blame. I think it's just because we're at such a low point. Everyone just looks up to the main people. Oh, you haven't bought in an £80 million and draft.
This is what I mean.
All the fake fans.
I don't think they meant for us. Yeah, I don't think they planned, right, Liverpool are going to win the Champions League, Premier League. I don't think that's amazing foresight. I don't think they've went all in for that. I think they've got the best manager who Liverpool could even touch, because bear in mind, Liverpool don't do world-class managers in the last 10 years. Jurgen Klopp chose Liverpool. We need to remember that. And it's like, I think I'm on the fence. I think they wanted the club to do well, but there is no way you can tell me that they were aiming to win a Champions League and a Premier League.
When John Henry came in, the first thing he said was he wants to bring us back to the glory days of Liverpool.
They all say that though.
But he has though. Like, he's actually delivered on it. He's not done what Mike Ashley's done. He said he wants to win the league with Newcastle. It's a buy to sell model though. It's like, it's worked out amazing, but they probably went, we're going to try and challenge. He probably didn't expect to get 98 and 99 points 2 seasons in a row. Like, that's like, I don't like the phrase overachieving. I'm not saying that. I just think the club gave the right tools, but I think Jurgen Klopp is the primary function why we've won what we've won more than anybody else. And So you don't think FSG had any contribution in the fact that when we were doing so badly with...
I think FSG have played their part. I just think Jurgen Klopp's the key.
With the manager though, like Brendan Rodgers was underperforming. He nearly took us to a title, and then we ended up in a similar mess to what we're in the following season.
The season after the title, come on, Britannia 6-1. It wasn't rocket science to if you could get Jurgen Klopp, you were going to take Jurgen Klopp. I just think there's some things that it's like, I agree. I think FSG have done very well. I just think Klopp's the key though, and I think like Liverpool wouldn't have achieved this without Klopp. For me, that's just my opinion. And each
do you think Klopp's more to blame than the owners for the downfall of this season?
Yes, that's why I'm not being a hypocrite. I agree with you. I just wanted to emphasise that I think not that they got lucky. I just think that Klopp's kind of
he's assisted the business model.
Yeah, like it's like,
I know what you mean. Yeah,
I don't think other managers, some could, but not all managers. Like, I'm not going to use the Guardiola example, but I don't think like how they're talking about Ancelotti at the very start, Ancelotti or Klopp. I don't think Ancelotti could have done Klopp, because Ancelotti probably would have demanded more straight away as well. But
Yeah,
I do agree with you though. I do agree though, because I'm not being a hypocrite. I just said that it's not rocket science to change it up, and he's not changed it up. He's not tried different things. It's like
that's the point I was making. I was saying that I believe the downfall to this season we shouldn't be in this discussion with the FSG out, because the spotlight needs to be more on Klopp for not changing where we're at and how we're playing at the moment.
Or trying different things. It's like, if it doesn't work out, fair enough, but try something. You know, it's like you know what we're going to do, Bizzle, before we you knew what we're going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like so
Yeah,
they know what we're going to do.
It does stem down to obviously Klopp. Also, a big part of that as well, lads, and something we haven't touched on was the players. You know, like I know players look, they do need that motivation, but when you're going into a derby game, like that first half of me on Sunday was horrendous. It really was. I can't be blunt about it. We were very passive, no energy, no intensity, no pressure off the ball. Very worrying. There was no grit. Like a Merseyside derby, you're going in the first couple of minutes, Everton just started out. They had a goal rush. They weathered that first half an hour at Anfield, the storm. Although there's not much for storm anymore with no fans being there, but we played it into their hands really, and Ancelotti set up well. I was listening to Carragher last night, and he made a good point that he didn't start with DCL, Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Alan, and he left them out because he'd only come back from injury, but he just took that edge off the derby. They just treated it like any other game. They went out, because obviously there's a big psychological factor for Everton playing Liverpool home and away the last couple of seasons, hence why they haven't won at Anfield since 99. So it's look, they went about their business. Credit to Everton. I don't like to say it, but we have to give it to them. They came to Anfield, they got a clean sheet, that they just played their game, and we just couldn't break them down. It was a lot of pedestrian, sideway passing. And I don't know, Arsene Wenger touched on it the other night. I don't know whether it's something I was obviously I had to digest and think about, that we seem to be nervous in the final third. We just seem to be very nervous, and we're not that patient anymore. We seem to, when we get to the final third, we're too predictable. We get a lot of corners, a lot of half chances. Corners were very wasteful on. Set pieces were very wasteful on. We're not testing the keeper enough. And I don't know whether it is nerves, like he touched on, or it's confidence in some way. Like we seen Firmino a couple of seasons ago, and he was confident. He was getting a lot more shots on goal. He was scoring more goals. It just this season, he looks like a player to me as well that's burnt out. He's badly burnt out. He's went above and beyond in terms of game time. And there's definitely problems there, but definitely. Look, I don't know. Like you will be able to touch on more, but it's just not good at the moment, is it?
Discussion, because there is a whole discussion to be had there.
Yeah.
To be honest, look, there's some of the comments over here. I just want to go through them. So this one is saying that Klopp is the one who made us believe again. And the thing is, I feel like currently what I've seen is a lot of people, like Busy was saying, everyone's just kind of looking for a scapegoat. And we've gone through the players, we've gone through the excuses, we've gone through the injuries, and now we're just going for the owners. And Klopp's kind of been out of that criticism circle simply because he's gained legend status at Liverpool. And I'm not saying, like, I haven't got a criticism of Klopp. I feel like I agree with Conway. He just needs to change his. He needs to be.
Try something different.
I don't have a criticism with him. I don't have a criticism. I think he's the best manager in the world by a country mile. I think the way that he
Klopp out, you're senile, honestly.
Yeah, I know it's stupid, but as Conway, what you said is, and there's a prime example of City. They've had Aguero and Jesus out for the past couple of months. They've been in and out, and they've been injured. And look what Pep does. He's up there, one of the best managers in the world, and just what I've seen. And look what he's done. He's changed it. He plays with a false nine, playing Gundogan or Foden or De Bruyne as like a false nine. And look at them, they're flying. They play Cancelo as a defensive midfielder, but he starts off at right back. And they play mad formations. They play players in different positions, and it's working for them. And I'm not saying play Trent in midfield, play Mane like midfield. I'm not saying that. I feel like for me, a change in system, maybe budging someone like Firmino a bit deeper as like a number 10 role. And as City, they've had their injuries. They've had the big players out in key positions, having 2-year strikers out, and they've changed the system. They changed the tactics, and now they're the best team in the world. They're unstoppable. You can't even score a goal past them. Never mind win a game against them. And they've changed the tactics, and it's been perfect for them. And that, for me, they'll probably keep them tactics when everyone's fit, because it's working so well. It's done them miracles, and they're playing so well, and they're unstoppable. And and they changed system, changed tactics, it's worked.
Would you agree with that comment below? Klopp is too His tactics.
100%.
Yeah, it's because it's worked for the past 3 years. He thinks it's going to work again. It's going to work every
Well,
game.
he did the same.
Every...
He did the same at Dortmund as well. Like, this is how he played exactly the same style of football at Dortmund. He played 3 up top. He utilised his wing backs in the sense of Bilal Likovsky. I always remember watching him. He was like a very big part of the right hand side for the way that Dortmund played. They had Marco Reus on the left hand side.
Absolutely rapid, that boy.
Yeah, and it's the same model. And obviously, you don't change something when it's unless it's broke. But now it's broke, so you've got to change it. So he needs to come up with something. He needs this league.
He's a good manager. He can. He's got the tools to do it, but he just needs to get it right. And
he just needs to do what.
I said that the other week. We've lost our game at home, which we've been beaten 70 games. We've done that. We're not going to win the league. So there's nothing wrong with him trying to risk something and risk
just experiment.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're well out of everything now. We're struggling to get top 4. So for me, we've got a massive game on the weekend, which I can't believe I'm saying it. I do not. You play Origi, Shaqiri, play anyone you want. Just try something new. I'd rather see a change and have a great performance and stick with what we've got.
Yeah. It doesn't matter about the individuals that we're playing. It matters about the way that we're playing. What is the point in playing this formation now when we don't offer, like, for example, like Daz was saying, on corners we offer nothing on a corner. So we have no presence in the box.
But they don't believe they can score a corner either. It's not even like, I hear commentators say, "Oh, they've got no height." Listen, right? Don't start that rubbish.
Do something else. You
can do a short, but listen, you can also, like, a corner's not about, you don't have to be 6'4". Look at Bournemouth when they first got first season. They were smart about their corners. They tried different things, but they players look like they're already scared against teams like, "Oh, we're not going to score this, so what's the point?" And it's like, that's not an attitude at all. You've got Trent, who's meant to be one of the best at deliveries. It's just like too many. I was saying to Safe, there's too many excuses, right? And you're right, Bizzo. It's like people are just clutching at any straw they can get right now as an excuse. They can't just accept that the team are not playing well, and it's because the team are not. I don't want to hear Van Dijk's injured. It's done. Accept it. Like, too many people were living 6 months ago. Like,
same with no fans.
We've got the cards were dealt. Right? Deal with it. Do you know what I mean? I see teams, right? I see other teams, right? And then it's like VAR. Oh, don't get me started, right? VAR, right? It's got so many issues, right? But other teams have got VAR issues. So don't come on after the game, and say, "Listen, I'm not making excuses." But no, don't say but. Just for once, have a genuine opinion and say that's irrelevant, right? We were shocking. We wouldn't have scored in a month of Sundays, right? Everton deserved to win. Calvert-Lewin comes on, he gets the penalty, hence why Ancelotti's a world-class manager. Stop trying to say, this is why we're playing terrible. Just accept we're playing terrible. It's actually much easier and you're less stressed when you just accept that that's rubbish. I was going to swear there. And this is how we get better. Like Bezos said. Yeah, but it's like people have got, I don't know what it is with us now, but we've got such obsession to look for any excuse. And it's like,
you know what? It makes
let's stop. Let's stop.
Like, I sent you a little clip of the excuses, and I'm not turning on Klopp, and I know this. I haven't been extremely supportive of Klopp throughout this podcast, but I sent Conroy a compilation of Klopp.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's just typical Klopp. Though he's always done it, and
it doesn't bother me. It does deflect, doesn't it? He does it all the time.
It's Klopp's always done it. You got to just look over it. You can't really go like, "Oh, Klopp, he's always done it, and he always will do it. It's just what he's like."
It's actually quite funny when you watch the video. It's quite funny.
It's like the wind. He's got cold feet and all this. It's what he does.
It's too dry.
I know.
Yeah. It's the same with Mourinho. Mourinho does exactly the same thing. My tactics are still great. I don't have to change anything. It's like, all you're doing there is just deflecting the question that your tactics are bad by arguing that they're not, but you haven't got the fact to back up that they're actually any good anymore. It's the same with Mourinho. Mourinho's at Tottenham. They're 9th or 10th in the league at the moment. They're desperate to switch it up. They need to switch the tactics up. They need to play differently. And it takes a good manager to be able to do it. As Finn said, Guardiola is the perfect example of it. He's been in the Premier League for a number of years now, and I don't think City have played the same for more than one season. I think they've always had the ability to bring someone in to change it. I mean, look at Cancelo this season. Like, what position does he play? Because one minute he's a sweeper at the back, the next he's scoring worldies, and then it's mad. Like, why are we not experimenting?
He is the best coach, Guardiola. He's the best coach. He is the best coach. 100%. He's the best coach.
Like they've had so many hurdles. They've had De Bruyne out for so long. They've had 2 strikers out. They've not had played with a striker for the past. Aguero and Jesus were on the bench the other week, but they don't play them because everything they're doing. Well, they're unbeaten in 19. They don't need a striker. They've got Foden, Gundogan who can play as a false 9. Like Fabregas did it so many years ago when he plays a false 9, and it works so well. And it should. And Guardiola is the best like proper coach. He can get it into his players. And Foden's such a young lad. His key is being one of the best players in the league this season.
His movement's exceptional.
Adapting to
unbelievable.
it, learning off Guardiola, one of the best ever to do it in the game of football. And exactly, they've had hurdles and they're working with them. And again, he's changed his tactics, he's changed players' positions, he's drilled it into them. And as Bizzo said, then Cancelo, you see him at left back, right back, CDM, he can be scoring goals. Gundogan, just your box-to-box midfielder the past 2 years, for me being the player of the season, getting goals and goals and goals, and because he's playing that new position, and that's what Guardiola's drilled into him. And Klopp needs to just take a bit of a look and go, you know what, I've got the capability, I've got the tools to do something here, I just need to change it. Maybe play Firmino in a different role or something, make some big changes in midfield. And Klopp can definitely do it. And all of Saturday, we know Klopp can definitely, he's got the ability, he's got the coaching brain to do it, but he's just, for me, he's got the balls to do it, because what he's been doing over the last 3 years works so well. He doesn't want to tweak anything and get people on his case.
It's like he's waiting for the. It's like he's waiting for the exact. Like he's waiting too long to make the change because he's too like stuck in the same way that we play. And this season's been a series of unfortunate events for us in terms of injuries and things like that, and obviously not having any fans in the ground. But that's not an excuse anymore. I hate that excuse. Yeah. I think with the injuries and stuff, I think the way that Klopp trains, and it isn't beneficial for a Premier League season, which is as congested as what it is. I think that when players are just all. When I remember watching Klopp's first game against Tottenham when it was 0-0 at White Hart Lane, and the players after were absolutely knackered. Like you could just tell all he's interested in is run. That's it.
Yeah, off the ball as well was a big thing.
Yeah. Like we covered more ground in that game than we had all season for the last 2 seasons, I think. And
I think as well, like with Jurgen Klopp, every couple of seasons he's gonna have to change around because of the intensity, because of the pressure, as you touched on, Biz. Like even that energy we're using up, how much is sapped out. And this season, I think there's 7 months of football, 8 months of football condensed into 7 months. Do you know what I mean? Then they had to obviously put up with all, apart from the major injuries we got, but the COVID as well and everything else. So it was always going to be a difficult season. And look, Jurgen Klopp's an emotional man. Liverpool are such an emotional club. The fan base, that not having fans there, we all probably would have predicted this back a couple of months ago, that of any club, it would affect us as much as a lot of clubs. It was probably going to impact us. Probably, I wouldn't want to say more because I don't use that as an excuse. But we knew we were going to be one of the clubs badly affected by not having fans. And Jurgen Klopp, especially in the last couple of weeks when his mother passed away, he needed that support and stuff. Now, it's not an excuse, but I do think fans there would have helped and got us and weathered that storm. But it's
worked both ways. The fan thing, because if you look at teams like West Ham and Man United without fans, who have been very critical of those teams over the few years, and they've really struggled in home games, and they've been getting drummings at home over the last couple of seasons. In that sense, it's worked effectively for the likes of United and West Ham to perhaps perform a lot better than what they would, and that backs up the evidence that if we had fans in the ground, then it would have assisted us. But the simple fact of the matter is it's the same for everyone, so we can't use it as an excuse as to why we're playing bad. Like, you just have to get your finger out your asses and actually start playing football again at the end of the day, because that's the be all and end all of this. We're not playing football. It's not like we're lacking that cutting edge or that little bit more of a percentage. We're lacking a whole lot, so we can't use that as an excuse. But it would help in somewhat, but it's not going to have much change in our fortunes, I don't think.
Yeah, so you know, like speaking of excuses and stuff like that, Firmino has been under the limelight and under a lot of criticism, particularly from Liverpool fans and obviously the away fans as well. But here's one. This is from a Liverpool fan saying Firmino is 0 goal threat, and I think he kind of proved himself right on that one in the Everton game. Just difficult to watch, and also just saying that Firmino needs a rest. Another one here as well. He needs more than a rest. He needs to go on holiday for 10 months and come back, and then hopefully he can score a goal. Do you know this talk of needing a rest there? So just generally, like I've just seen a footballer gets paid like 150 grand a week. He shouldn't need a rest. To be honest, I have to disagree with you there, because it doesn't matter how much money someone makes; it's not going to affect them as a human. However, but that's his job.
he doesn't score goals. He has to. He's a striker. I don't care if you have to set up. I'd like to see him. And I love Firmino, and he's been a great player over the past couple of seasons. But this season, he's had like the odd game where it'd go, oh, it's back to Bobby's best. Like, he can produce a little bit of wow, like Leicester with that mad skill. He has got it, but he just like, and we've backed him. I think last year we backed him a lot. A lot of people were getting on. He scored 1 goal in at home, and everyone was getting on his back. We're going, but look, he can get an assist. He's not meant to score goals. The other two are meant to score goals, but you still need your striker to at least be in maybe double digits or near enough double digits a season. And I know a lot of them are going, oh yeah, but he's not that type of player. But he's a striker. That's what the job is. Like a keeper, he's meant to keep goals out.
This is all related to the tactics as well.
No, I know, but I do think he's tired. I think we're safe saying he is tired. Like, you know what I mean? I don't mean in the sense that he's not unfit. I'm not saying that. I think though, if you watch last season or season before, he could press. He can't do that anymore. I think it's not in his legs anymore.
Completely burned out, he looks to me.
Yeah.
The whole team does.
Yeah, no, it's not just. I'm not just blaming him, but like, for me, he just doesn't look like he's like the back. He doesn't look like he's Bobby. He just looks like so knackered and looks like doesn't want to really be there. But I feel as Bizu said, when Jota's coming back in the next couple of days, and that I think the change in formation, playing as a number 10, it lets him not have to press as much, not be the main man, the target man to get the ball. And you see him Tottenham away, he was so good at holding the play up a lot. I thought at Tottenham, he was getting on the ball deep as he does best. We've seen Mourinho drill that into Kane as well this season. And for me, I think Firmino playing at the number 10 role could give him a bit, because there's not pressure on him to score goals or get an assist every game. You know what I mean? He can supply the wing from a different.
Yeah, and he also, but he also is probably our sorry, go ahead, Wilfred.
And I think for me, Jota coming in, you can afford to give him a rest, because I feel like Origi isn't good enough to swap Firmino out, no matter how bad he is, Firmino. But with Jota, we know how class he's been. Then you can do that, and then, as people are saying in the chat, then you can afford him a rest, give him a 3 or 4 game rest, and get Jota back in there, or maybe play Shaqiri as that false 9, as that number 10.
That's a problem itself, though, Finn. That the fact Origi is a number, like, that is a problem.
I know,
We're not getting
exactly.
into the night. There should be someone there who's like, if you're not performing, he's in. It's like that simple, and that's. And I don't
they
even mean like
they should never have given Firmino the number 9 shirt. I just don't like. It's just put a hoodoo on him, in my opinion. He doesn't play like that. Everyone says, "Oh, play Firmino as a centre attacking midfielder." He does play like that in games. He's never in the box. He's always.
No, and that worked. So that's worked for 3 years. It's worked
exactly.
It's just you need to change it now. And
change
enough,
it up,
you know.
Someone else needs to be the target man. Someone else needs to take that pressure off him and be that central striker who is next to the front two. Because I think even if I was stood there in that front three, seeing them two on my left and right getting goals, would be a bit like, I really took my game here. They're just scoring 15 goals a season, and you're sat there. You're like. But I think a change in formation and tactic can do him the best, who can sit a bit deeper for the whole game and rely on someone else to make that run in the box, and he can be that player that sits on the edge and creates a bit more creativity.
This relates back to the tactics, though. This relates back to the fact that we're still so predictable. Like, you can't, if you put Jota in Firmino's. If you put Jota in Firmino's position, Jota isn't going to play like Firmino. He's not that kind of player, and that's why we were so effective when we used to switch it up earlier in the season, and we were still scoring the same amount of goals with him. I genuinely disagree with the fact that we sent Minamino on loan. I just think I agree with the concept of the loan, but I don't agree with the timing of it.
It should have been a
review. If you are going to send anyone, then send a review. Who's the one that should really. Realistically, as Liverpool fans, we agree he doesn't fit in our team anymore, and he hasn't done for a while now. And Minamino looked like he was. I mean, he had a good game against Palace, and he was one of those players who was slowly working his way into the team. And I think we just tried to kind of fast track him into Premier League football by sending him on loan. But I think with the injury issues we've got at the moment, I think it was a poor decision. And again, that relates down to the management deciding to let him go at the end of the day. And you have to criticise when decisions like that are made, unfortunately. And Minamino was a player that could have been useful for us. If Firmino looks so tired, then why would you send out a player who you've been substituting Firmino for and trying to play him in the similar role? Why would you send him on loan? Because now you've got no option but to play Firmino.
It was always a strange one with Minamino, because he joined us during the time where we were at the very first lockdown, so there's a lot of uncertainty on unknown, even whether football was going to be back for the rest of 2020. And you always got that instance I got watching them was sometimes players didn't pass it to him as much as he should have got it. He's been a bit left out now, whatever reason that is. I don't know, but I watched them that game against Palace. We won 7-0. Like that was it's
Very
been a
good
hoodoo one or
movement.
since because we only scored 8 league goals in 9 league games after that. But I think he got 2 that day and got an assist, and he was very
Got
good
one,
up front. Got
he
one,
was
sorry,
so
yeah,
good.
he played a big part,
And
and we
play
just didn't
for,
see
like,
him after that.
yeah, I know, it's
He come on
weird.
for 5-6 minutes in games after that. Like it doesn't matter what player you are. If you're Mbappe, Haaland, you're coming up for 5 or 6 minutes. There's only so much you can contribute. You know what I mean?
You never score a goal
It's crazy. So I think he was given a raw deal. I really do. I had big hope for him. Like we signed him at a very low price, and it was a calculated gamble. Like if it didn't work out, it didn't. It was only 7.5 million. But we seen a lot of Matt Salzburg, and he was very, very good. And in Japan, he's massively highly rated. You know what I mean over there. And to be fair, he just didn't get the run. I don't know what happened, what it was, whether it was something mental with him, something he'd done at training. Look, we'd never probably know. But
I agree with the loan. I agree with sending him out on loan, but I feel like it was a terrible decision because even the time we sent him away, we hadn't scored the league goal for like 3 games. We hadn't scored against Newcastle. We were in like the relegation battle at the time we were playing them, and we haven't scored an open play goal in like 4 home games. We only scored a penalty against City, which wasn't even a penalty. So I feel like I agree with sending him out on loan. I feel like he's a player that does need that confidence boost and needs to get run of games, play 10, 15 games to the end of the season. But and as Bizzo said, I think it was a very wrong time because Klopp could see that. Klopp could see Mane and Firmino weren't playing the best he can. We weren't scoring a typical 2-3 goals a game, which I don't expect, but we expect more goals than none in 4 home games. You know what I mean? But I agree with him sending him out, but it was a terrible timing for me, I think. And if you were going to send someone, it'd be Origi. Because for me, Minamino is the best backup we have.
Yeah, but this is general criticism I've got of Klopp, because, like, all right, I know you guys aren't the biggest fans of Origi, and I genuinely think that he's not a great player. He's not a fantastic Liverpool standard player, but he's someone that can score goals. Bringing him on in the 88th minute.
Right, that's stupid. There's no point in that.
Yeah.
I disagree with that.
Game, and
I agree. When last time he scored?
When Minamino come to the club, he's meant to be covering Firmino's position. Firmino's not having a great season. Why are you going to send Minamino away? If he needs game time, we need a player of his position in our team. Why not give him game time at Liverpool at that standard that we want him to play? This season now, and I know back then we didn't know this, but this season now is pretty much a write-off. Had we kept Minamino, we know that this season, to be fair, we're still fighting for top 4, but the title race is out of the window and we've got the Champions League. This season would have been, the situation that we're in now would have been a perfect time to get Minamino on the pitch, get him some game time. And we've all said it, there's players on the bench right now that could probably make it into that team. And that moves me on to the next thing. To be honest, I'm going to start with Farhan because he's been really quiet. But what formation change? Like, for example, coming into the Sheffield game, obviously we just said Minamino's out of the picture, but coming into that Sheffield game, what changes would you make to our team? And how do you expect it to impact our team?
Hopefully, Jota's fit. No Firmino. Play Jota in as striker. Keep Mane and Salah as usual in the same place. I think in terms of centre back, since we don't have any choice, maybe give Ben Davies a chance. Obviously, let Kabak play. In terms of midfield, I don't think we should let Wijnaldum play.
You can come on the stream anytime, mate. Anytime you want, you can come on the stream.
No, I really like Wijnaldum. He's a very, very good player. I really do like Wijnaldum, but it's a commitment thing. I don't think he would make such a big impact anymore. But yeah, just not Wijnaldum. Either let Shaqiri come in that place, even Milner come in in his place. But yeah, that's what it should be for me.
To be honest, interesting, but I still stuck with the Gini Wijnaldum one. Look, Bizzo, I know, and to be fair, you lot have said it. If he ain't signed the contract, if he ain't got that love for the club, he doesn't deserve to stay. But every time he's come on the pitch, I feel like with our team, it's focus on the next 90 minutes. Anything outside of that is irrelevant right now. And I think when Gini's been on the pitch, he's given it his all. And I don't know, for me, it's just hard. I think there's the sentiment of that Gini has made a lot of difference for us in games. And I think none of you can disagree with when I say he's a fantastic player. He's a great player. And the options that we have to replace him aren't necessarily the same level. But before I move on, just a big shout out to Theo Woods. I was on his channel. If you guys haven't, make sure you subscribe.
Theo.
Do you not bring Keita into the team next
Yeah,
week?
Naby. He's a key one for
Only
me.
if he's fit. Only if
He's
he's
on the back
fit.
of my shirt as well, but you can't see it. Nah, I feel like for me, Naby is like, someone said it before, he's got like, when he's played, well for me this
the way
season,
around.
yeah, I know. What is it called? And when we played this season, like 3 games that stand out to me is Arsenal alone when we beat them like 3-1. He had a great game. He was so strong in midfield. Leicester at home as well, which he got injured in, but again, just such a strong player in the midfield of the park, and he's so good at keeping the ball to his feet. He's so good at dribbling, and I think for me, he's not the greatest player you'll ever see, but I feel like this time it's just a player like someone like you need. I think Jota and Naby can just come back in the squad and give them a bit of fresh legs, and that they can make that burst and run that Bobby might not make, that Curtis Jones might not make after he's played quite a few games on the bounce. But I know he's not the greatest player. I know he gets injured a lot, and my dad just kind of wind me up because he knows how much I like him and how much I respect him, and he's a great player. But I feel like for me, he's just someone that you never know with him. He's had some great games over the past couple of months for Liverpool. Every time he's battered teams, he always seems to be playing there and just he's being so comfortable. But I just feel like for me, him and Jota can be that pair of fresh legs that can just bring you something, can make that extra run, can make that better ball, can just do something, and you never know. And Naby works so well with Salah and Sadio; they've got a good connection, and and I feel like for me, maybe putting Thiago a bit higher up, play 4-2-3-1, put him in that number 10, or put Naby up there, or even Curtis Jones, should give someone a go in a different position and play a bit more of an attacking threat with 4, because Sheffield United, we all know what they're going to do. It's got to be 2 rows of like 5, and they'll have every single man behind the ball and straight a deep block team, which is fair enough, because if I was Sheffield United manager, that's what I'd be doing, because it's easy. We've seen it so many times. Brighton, Burnley, we've done it. You sit back, big centre halves, as we know, 5 at the back, and it's solid, and you push Man City off the ball like that, and it's so easy. So it's going to be tough, but I just think maybe a little change in formation and play a bit more of a threat, play 4 attacking minded players, can just maybe make that extra, make that better pass that can open the sort of deep sitting back team. But we'll have to find out. We'll have to wait and see.
Because obviously this is something that Klopp's got to deal with. What do you do in the scenario that Naby comes on and picks up an injury in the 23rd?
No, don't get me started. If that,
It's done. It's done. This is the last chance. This is the last chance. This is the last chance for Naby Keita. This is it. If he does at the end of the season, this is it. Like, he's had they put a full new rehab plan because it wasn't working.
He's been out longer because he's like been working. Yeah, he could have been back 3 weeks ago, but
this is it. He's getting sold in the summer if he doesn't work.
If Naby Keita gets injured, if Naby Keita gets injured, we might as well play our fucking home games at A&E, because this is just it's just a fucking nightmare.
In fact, I agree. Like, he is a very talented player, but I don't think he's ever going to hit the heights he did at Leipzig. I don't think he'll ever hit those heights.
Yeah,
it's not encouraging the amount of injuries he's had in such a short period of time.
Yeah, I know. And I feel like when you're a team like Liverpool and you want to try and win as many things as you can, you can't be waiting around and wait, Naby will be back in 4 weeks. You can't be doing that. You got to have players that are available to you every minute. And I know this is a bit of a freakish season, but Naby last year, the year before, we know he has his injury problems and he's been out for a long spell. But
where are we at with Firmino for this weekend? Is he back or?
He's not. No sign about. He's not been in training any this week, but I don't know if he'll be back for.
He won't be back this week.
With
Keita in the midfield,
it'll be so crucial to get Keita back into the team. Is to be fair, my dad's commented just here is that Gini slows our game down, which is the only small criticism I've got of him. He wasn't like this before, and he's only become like this more this season. It's something that I've seen Thiago doing a lot as well. Is not passing the ball forward. They're slowing down our counter attacks, slowing down just general attacks, and they're just scared to make that piercing ball. And I know it's difficult when a team's playing a low block. They've got like all 10 players.
He needs to hit that risk.
On the ball.
Gini can't make that. Gini can't make those piercing balls. I'm hoping. Without going off on him, he does his job well. He doesn't set the world alight. He's not an overperformer in this team this season. Like, he's not dragging us through the shit. He's not getting us through games. He's not a match winner for us. He's just doing his job. That's what my issue with him is. He's like, he's a very good player. He's good at what he does. But if you've got those commitment issues as the player, then why? Like we've discussed in depth earlier with the likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain, who is dying to get in that team. Why don't you just? This is the time now to change it. There's we're all crying out for change. Why are we playing a player who's going to leave for Barcelona in a few months' time?
It's convincing me more and more as this stream goes on. At the beginning, Genie in the team. But I changed my mind very quickly. But
but Genie, to be fair to Genie though, right? There's not many players who can play in so many positions and be an amazing number 10 for Holland. I think when he puts the Liverpool top on, he's told this is your role, retain the ball, pass.
Holland,
I think that's a system more than anything else. I don't think he gets told try that, be free, express yourself. I think that's what the fullbacks and the wingers are told. I think Genie's job is to retain the ball. The only reason I'm saying that, Bizzo, is I would agree with you, but when you watch him for Holland, right?
Oh, he's a different player for Holland. I know. He plays
phenomenal.
Top goal scorer for him. He scores every week.
But I don't think that's him. I think he's told to be like to play that way. If you know what I mean. I feel like with Holland, you watch it and it's like that's why his shooting annoys me, because when he's with Holland, he's a threat from outside the box. But Liverpool, he never shoots.
Yeah, he's told to like wait and give it to Salah or Mane, and so many times I've seen Thiago. So many midfielders are sat on the edge of the box, and none of them are shooting. They're all bothered about giving a ball out wide, giving it to Salah or giving it to Mane. You can do something more. You just have a go, like, and there's no pressure on us, which is a bit more comfortable for for Klopp. It's like no pressure on us at all, so he can do whatever he wants. If he makes a mistake, no one's going to be bothered. We want to see that change.
This is where we're at with Wijnaldum though. Like, he plays like that for Holland, and who was the manager of Holland when he was scoring all them goals and he was in the limelight? It was Ronald Koeman. So why would what isn't enticing him for him to go over there? If he's going to be playing the same similar role over in Barcelona, then why wouldn't you? I'd be the same if I was going to be in the limelight as much as I was for Holland. Then I'd be all over it. So Genie's not the sole issue. We need to change. We need to try something different. We need to bring some fresh legs in. We need to spring a surprise on Sheffield. If we can spring a surprise on it.
We're in a position now where we've nothing to lose. Just freshen things up, change the formation. Yeah,
exactly. We've lost our game at home. We're out the title race. So, like last year, we needed to win every game to make sure we had that lead. We were keeping a fair distance above City because we knew they could come back at any moment. But now we're well out of that. We've lost our first home game. I would rather go into Sheffield United and see Naby, Jota, and a few position changes, different tactics, and I don't care about the result. Just I'd rather be happy to see change than have the same team and whatever that result is. But if we go in with that same 4-3-3 and the same midfielders with Jones, Thiago, Wijnaldum, myself, Firmino, I'm going to be fuming. And if we don't win that game,
the next three games I think are going to be crucially decisive. You've Sheffield away, you've Chelsea and Fulham at home. After that, then you've 10 league games left. And that's where you're going into the real latter end of the stage of the season. That's where I think that the likes of West Ham, Villa will drop off that little bit, I think. But look,
why do you think they will, Daz? Why do you think they will?
I'm just a big believer that I think something will change at Liverpool. And I do think because of the experience, how good we are, having that little rest between now and this game, that if we can get through these games, even with 6 or 7 points, Conroy, that going into those last 10, there will be clubs looking over their shoulder saying, well, Liverpool are behind us. We might, it depending on what happens in those games. Like, I mean, if we get some mojo, some goals back, we're a bit more creative. We have a change of play, formation. We're bringing players back. So Jota and Milner, like, you can, whatever we think about Milner, but he'll set the tempo, you know what I mean? And he'll demand pressure. He'll demand the little simple things that sometimes we don't do enough of. And he, like with him and Fabinho, if they do come back in the midfield, they'll demand that. Now, look, Henderson now obviously is going to be huge, but I think with them last 10 games to go, I just think West Ham, Villa, I'm not saying they will drop off, but I think if there's going to be any teams around them, it will be them. Because I don't see things getting worse for Liverpool Spurs. Can they really get any worse when you compare the two squads?
I wouldn't say that, Darren.
No, I know that, but it's not. It's probably me speaking out loud more, so I don't think it will happen. But look, it could be wrong. It could be a real decline, but I don't think so. I think if we can do something in these 3 games, because Fulham have so much to play for, Sheffield United and Chelsea, they've so much to play for now, that these are going to be 3 youth. These are going to be probably like 3 cup finals. If we can get something out of this, I think on to the last 10, like other clubs will probably pick up injuries. You know what I mean? Maybe air fortunes will change. It's just, I'm thinking a few different things, Conroy. I don't think it's right or wrong, really. But
no, that's fair enough, Darren.
It's just what I think. But you're going to have a good point yourself.
No. Like, see, the thing is, right? My point is not Liverpool. My point is this season that other teams are not stopped playing well. So I think other teams, right, like teams like Villa and stuff, they've not stopped getting results. So I still think, right, you're not going to just outplay a team now. I feel like they've got confidence as well. And I've never seen this before, because it's like Villa beat Arsenal last week, and it's like you're still seeing teams. Leicester have not fell down yet; they're still winning. So realistically, we need Leicester to bottle it for us to get the Champions League. And it's like, for some reason this year, I think more teams have got quality. Like, so what I mean by that is every team more or less has got a standout player, but who's actually like a very, very good player. And it's like, even Leeds tonight, Leeds beat Southampton 3-0, right? And it's like, I just think this season is showing that it's not all about without the fans, but you might be right though, Darren. There might be a big drop off. I thought it would have happened sooner than it has, but these teams are still shocking some teams.
Yeah, if you go back to last season, remember Leicester had top 4 secured, and then they were going to Bournemouth, they were beaten 4. Like, they had just had a massive drop off. Now I think they might have learned from that.
After New Year, they always seem to go, but they haven't.
I hope the cream does rise to the top, but
Leicester had a lot of injuries last year. They had a lot of injuries that people don't talk about.
To be fair. Yeah, they had
and then
to be
they've
fair.
got Pereira back.
Justin.
Madison's on fire now. Madison shoots outside the box. I don't know if you've seen that before. It's a thing in football where they shoot outside and they're actually good at it. I've not seen that very often, but apparently people do that. Just like someone shoots and they're actually like they've been in training.
Are you allowed to shoot outside the box?
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Are you allowed to go on a training pitch and actually practice shooting? I didn't know you're allowed to do that. Is that against the rules of football? Because that's what Liverpool don't seem to do that at all.
Listen, Chamberlain on the other hand, he's very direct.
He does.
That shoots from outside.
This is what I mean. This is what we're all trying to say, though. We just need to spring a bit of unpredictability on a team. Have some shots from outside the box. Try it a little bit different. Set up completely different. Try Mane as a centre forward, and then have Thiago just behind him or something like that. Just try and spring a surprise on him, because that's the only way we're going to get results now. By dragging out this same old tactic that's not been working, they all know how we're going to set up. They know the players that are going to play. They can train particularly for it. That's how you do it. That's how a boxer trains to fight another boxer. They memorize the way that they play. They memorize how they're going to set up. They memorize what punches they're going to throw in, what combinations. It's exactly the same with us. They know how we're going to set up. They know the front three off by heart. They know how to nullify us. That's why we struggle so much to score goals. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter how else we play. If we play well on the day, it doesn't matter, because they've done a week's worth of training of how to isolate Bobby on his own, or how to push Mo and Salah away from the area. That's the problem with it.
Against Everton, every time Mane picked the ball, he had at least 2 or 3 defenders around him. Like, there was
it's so easy to defend against us now.
Whether it be in the game or before the game, they're not going to be prepared for that. And I think with Sheffield and then Chelsea coming up, the Sheffield game is a perfect chance for us to try something different leading into the Chelsea game, because that Chelsea game is a massive game if we want to get top 4, because let's be honest,
it's another game at home. We just seem to, I don't know, we can't score at home, and that's Sheffield will be a nice it'd be a nice platform for us going into Chelsea. We can go there, get a win, try something different.
Guys, I'm just change our game by game now. Yous are too game by game.
I just want 3 points, mate. I just want 3 points and a shot from outside the area.
Win.
Against Thiago assist, that'd be nice.
I'd love to see Thiago play a more creative role, a bit further up the pitch. That's one thing I want to see.
What was that? What the pitch you said?
If you see him as like a number 10 role, Thiago, if he's a bit higher up, he sits behind one of the people up front. I think he can just put a shift in, because he's the player that can find the ball past the deep line. He's the one that can make that creativity. We know we can have shots, he can score some worldy goals, but he's that one who can make that pass, who can dink it over, he can slide it through. He's like one of the best passers in the Premier League. Like, he's not showing it so far for us, but he's so good on the ball, and people know his capability. He can put that pass through, and for me, I've been asking for so long now, just play him higher up and we'll see a different player, because you can tell he's not the biggest fan of getting back and defending. He will do it, and he does a decent job at it.
He's not very good at tackling, is he? He's not very good at tackling.
That's why he should be up for a further role.
Exactly. When he doesn't need to tackle, he can take a filter and just let Wijnaldum do the tackling in a goal.
He makes Paul Scholes look like Maldini when he tackles. It's horrendous. Like,
give him time, yeah. Look, he's just come from.
I'm only joking. I'm only winding people up, but he is bad at tackling, though.
But do you know when Firmino came in? Yeah, it took so long before Firmino was settled into our team, and he's not the only player to do that. Even if I'm not wrong, Robbo and Trent as well. Like, but Trent was a bit different. He got bought in against Man United.
Firmino was off the pace for 3 months, as Finn said. He was off the pace.
None of our signings have had that bedding in period.
Look at Kabak at the moment. Kabak's been thrown into a team. He's first had to play. I can't even remember what it was. And Jamie Vardy. Then in the Champions League,
in a big
derby. Like it's really difficult for a 20-year-old to just jump to another country in a team struggling so much with so much negativity. Yeah, sorry, Finn.
That's fine. They conceded so many goals at Schalke, and to come into.
But then maybe that's why they shouldn't have got Kabak. That's what people watching the stream will say. They should have got someone who was more experienced. So it's like,
I think
he's not been awful. He's not been awful. You're right.
All right.
The promise is there with him. The promise is definitely there.
He's really young, and I think
you imagine Kabak and a fully fit Van Dijk together. Them two as your centre halves. That's a physical presence.
Mate, the way he's been playing.
If you have like Henderson or Firmino in that holding role, and then you can let Thiago not do what he wants, but technically, you know what I mean? Let him go on and let him play in like a free role. Like James did it against us on the weekend. Everton, you've got Decore and Gomez, whoever it was, just playing in midfield. They're the one that work hard to get the ball, and that Rodriguez just running around the place, just getting in pockets of space where he needs to be. And Everton let him do that because they know how good and how creative he can be. And look, he got an assist against us. He put that ball through to Richarlison. Had a great game because he can play in them pockets of space. He's not forced. He's not drilled to go. You have to play in this position. You have to do this and do that. He's just more of a free role player. And I think if you have someone like Firmino or Henderson who play and cover the runs of Trent and Robbo, then I think that would give Thiago a bit more urgency to get up the pitch and involve the player at a higher stage of the pitch.
Exactly. So, I want to move on to this comment, from Saint LFC. He goes, guys, can I ask a question? What's going on with our movement off the ball? We're all so static and our transitions take an age. What happened to the
Preach that, mate. Preach that. I've been saying that for months, mate. Preach that.
Do you know what? It is so frustrating. The thing is, I feel like Finn was saying, with Thiago, he's got the capability. He needs to be moved up the pitch. He needs to be allowed to play in a certain role. He seems like he's walking on ice and thin ice as well. He just doesn't feel comfortable moving that ball forward because he's scared to make a mistake. And I've never seen a Liverpool midfield since Klopp took over that are scared of making a mistake. And it slows down our attack massively. I think as much as I've been singing like Wijnaldum songs, but Wijnaldum has slowed down our attacks. Thiago has been a big culprit of that as well. Curtis Jones is probably one of the only midfielders that's come in that has helped with the attacks.
But and he runs with it, gets on the ball and runs forward.
Because he's very good at picking up that ball and running at a defence. But then sometimes he holds it a little bit too long, and it means Salah makes it pees me off so much when people criticise Salah. Because if you just watch him in a game, and I think I'm very biased when I say this, simply I've literally just sat there watching him in a game. That guy runs.
His movement goes. Yeah, Salah's movement is good.
He just never stops working, and people still want to criticise him. But because our midfield is so slow in transitioning and moving forward, he's already made his run before the ball's even been turned over or before anyone's even looked up for the pass. He's already offside. So we need to move our transitions like so much quicker. But
do you think safe we should try a 4-2-3-1 then? Because I know you're talking about Thiago going further apart, but a lot of people, a lot of Bayern fans are saying he was best when he was in a double pivot.
Yeah.
So if you want to take Gini out of the team, if you maybe play, I forget what players we've got left.
Firmino,
Thiago, and then because obviously Hendo's probably going to be injured for a month or whatever, and then you've got 4 attackers and a Fabinho number 10. You can mix it up with that 4, but maybe. See, the thing is right now, guys, I just assume there's no space in every game, and I think most fans should just start assuming there's no space. And then look at that front three and look how they have to take a bit of accountability and be a bit smarter as well. Because that's when someone like a Firmino, if he's at a number 10, he is 10 times smarter than the front Mane and Salah. Like, they can't lace his boots for his brain on the park. And he sees those spaces. It's like, the thing for me is I love Salah, right? But Salah thrives with space. You can mark Salah out a game. It's been done numerous times this season. Even when he scores, he's not always had the most amazing game. Mo Salah, he is what he is. He's very effective. But I think right now the fear factor's out the window with that front three. Like, no, teams are not scared of them. Like, I've seen three fullbacks have their man-of-match performance, best game against them. They're not scared of them at all. Mason Holgate had Mane in his pocket. Let's not lie, guys. Like, that's not good enough anymore.
And Coleman as well, didn't you?
Exactly. Coleman, Seamus Coleman. How old is Seamus Coleman? It's ridiculous.
They've had 3 years to come up with the tactics. They've had 3 years.
But we've had 8 games to change it, and these players should know to do something different. Mane, oh my God, Mane, you can't fall over. He's not going to give you a free kick. He knows you fall too easily. So stop going for a free kick.
Thank you so much. Do you know? I've never seen someone try so hard to get fouled. Like,
Yeah.
on it frustrates me even more.
You're not getting a free kick.
He's got the capability of running through players. I don't know why his first instinct is who's going to stick their foot out. He's got the capability to charge into that box and across the box, but he's too busy looking for a foul that he's missed everything else, and then he complains when the ref's not giving it to him. And we know he's like so flipping capable as well. But
I want to sorry to interrupt, but I just want to say, after seeing Saints LFC's comment, what happened to Liverpool being so fast paced and stuff, I just remembered I had a screen recording from our last game last season, which was against Chelsea. The score was 4-3, and then there was a corner for Chelsea, and then they broke, and then they went all the way to the other side, and then Chamberlain scored. It was what, I don't know, 12, 15 seconds, and that was
West Ham.
Andy Robertson, against Chelsea.
Robbo won it, 5-3 that game.
Yeah, that was it.
But that's what I've been saying for weeks. Like, you think of Liverpool over the past couple of seasons, they're the team that hit you on the counter attack. They got Firmino, they're fabulous for you. We've got pace, energy, and they just run at you, and they're so powerful and they're unstoppable. But this year, like, they're like the easiest free to, like, I see Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin getting more chances than Mane, Salah, and Firmino. Like,
because they're changing up, they're changing their formation, they're doing different things.
Like, it's so easy to take them out of the game. You can easily nullify Salah and Mane, and Firmino's the only really one who's got the capability of maybe moving a bit deeper and his movement being a little bit better. But that's the thing, it's so like weird. I think it's because it looks so bad this season because how good and how powerful and how unstoppable we've been for the past 2 seasons. Like, the counter-attack in football we've had, there's so many videos and games we've had where you just see us from one corner. Like West Ham the other week, we kind of did that then, the counter-attack. That's typical Liverpool. Like, that's what Liverpool are all about, counter-attack and hitting teams and not expect it. But I feel like because everyone's like, the front three's been underperforming a lot this season, it look even worse away because how good they've been. They score 60, 70 goals in the league each season, and because they've done that for so long and now they're slacking off a bit, it's more noticeable than having an off season. You know what I mean, with how good they've been over the past couple of years.
Exactly. I think about this conversation, by the way, the fact that most of the other channels that I've watched, I think the unique selling point, but most of the other channels that I've watched have focused so much on the centre backs, and I think.
Front three have been to blame over the past couple of games, I think, though. Because not scoring a goal at home, that's true.
Brighton, Burnley, West Brom, right? You do not need, right? That team is good enough to beat those teams, right? Do not start telling me they're not, right? I'm not having it. Like, I've seen Arsene Wenger trying to say, like, I love Arsene Wenger. He's trying to tell me, listen, if you lose to Man City, Leicester, that's fine. But these teams, right? You've got a good enough squad to beat them. So find a way to beat them. And if it's like, we're repeating ourselves, as Darren said. It's a copy and paste performance. It's the exact same performance as we saw against Fulham 2 months ago. So why are people? Yeah. We've got the best analysts in the world. Analyze that. Look at that. Change it up. But I don't know. It's frustrating, guys.
It'll start this week.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Give up with the league now. And that thing is, there's so much pressure on the Champions League now. Too bad on that, because other than that, no silverware, no top 4. That could be very worrying for Liverpool.
You know
Liverpool just
FSG
do it in a weird way.
FSG out.
Sorry, Safe. What are you going to say? Sorry, mate.
Oh, wait, Bizzo, I'm going to scroll up and find this comment because I know you're going to love it.
Clip that, Bizzo. Bizzo, I'm going to clip that and use it on Thursday night, mate.
I'm going to update just for your viewing purposes.
Turn me to a meme.
Do you know, this guy makes a good point here, yeah? With Suarez and Sturridge, we didn't need a defence because they used to blow them out of the water. The one game we needed a defence, we lost against Crystal Palace. Okay, I don't know what he means by the second part, but with
we lost like 4-3.
It was 3.
That was the worst. That was the worst tactic ever. Just score as many goals as you can, pot as many balls as you can. Just try and put the ball in there.
Very David Brent. It was very David Brent. Just go for it.
Cardiff City 6-4, wasn't it? That was a good game.
Thank you for that one. But yeah, to be honest, yeah, just a question for you lot, yeah, because I know we've focused a lot of this speaking about midfield and attack, and I'm quite glad we did, simply because I don't think the defense is a massive problem, because we're making chances in a game where a lot of the ball is played. We've got most of the possession. A lot of the ball is played in the opposition's half. So it's not the defense that's really the issue. Yeah, we've had some poor moments in defense, but our 3 strikers, 3 attackers, I don't know whether to call them strikers, should be scoring goals. You've got Firmino, who are probably on the ball. You got Mane and Salah as well, and I think we spoke about Mane a little bit already, but Mane has only scored one more goal this season than Firmino, and Firmino's been in the dirty water a lot more than him, just because he's a bit of a target to go for. But I want to ask actually about defence. Would you risk? I'm going to ask Conroy this one because I'm just quite curious to see his answer. But would you risk starting Davies and Kabak in the next game against Sheffield as centre back?
I think we need to. We've not got much options. Even if Fabinho comes back, I don't know if I'd shove him straight in.
We had Phillips. We brought Phillips on against Everton.
Yeah, no. Actually, sorry, I forgot about that. I like Phillips actually. So for me personally, right, I was actually on another stream and Safe was there, and I started arguing with a person debating because Kabak's been bought in as to be a Liverpool ready centre back, whereas Nat Phillips has never been. He just got there and he's covering. He's not standing in. So I'm like, why does Nat Phillips look more secure as a centre back? That annoyed me. For me, I'm not going to say I'd probably start Phillips, but that's not going to happen. It'll probably be, for me, it'll be Phillips and Kabak. It's not going to be Davis. I think it'll be Phillips and Kabak this weekend. But what I would say is, if you're ever going to start Davis to give him a chance, this is the game. Like, you're not going to get a better game. I'm not saying will be amazing.
They don't have the worst in the league. They're not going to have loads of stuff.
Yeah. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it this weekend. But as I say, I don't know if I'm kind of got the Demo Dre goggles on with Nat Phillips, but I watched him came out against Everton, and I know he got spun by Richarlison, and I get that. But I actually thought he'd done pretty decent when he came on, considering people just want to scapegoat him. It's like, he's never been bought as a Liverpool centre-back. Kabak has, so his standard should be much higher of a person who's actually been brought in by the scouts to be a starting centre-back at the moment for Liverpool. So I don't know if I'm maybe just... What do you guys think? Do you think Phillips will start, or is that just me looking it through it differently? Do you think...
I think Phillips will play, definitely.
Yeah.
I think he's a no-nonsense defender, and in times like this, you need a no-nonsense defender, someone who's just going to boot the ball out when it comes to him. Kabak's obviously still bedding in. You've got to give him the benefit of the doubt for the first few games. You can't just say like he's shit now just based off a couple of errors or poor performances. I think the midfield. Someone's mentioned it in the comments, but the midfield is definitely an issue. I do think we're starting to get overrun in midfields. We're lacking the intensity, and we're getting outnumbered. A lot of teams are setting up with 5 in midfield against us, so we're struggling with the numbers. I'd just like us to see us try a new formation offensively where we're just more fluid, where we just give a bit more freedom to the players. Like, let Curtis Jones go out onto the left wing, let Mane go as a centre forward, let Firmino drop back as deep as he wants. Just let's have a bit of fluidity. Let's just see what happens when we let the players play, rather than at the moment we just seem to be setting up with the same tactic and then just like hoping for some individual brilliance out of Mane and Salah just to like get us a goal on and then see us through the game. I think we just need to express ourselves a little bit more now. Let the individuals kind of like play for themselves. It can't get any worse now. We're out of the top 4 at this moment in time. We're not going to get Champions League football or Europa League next season, so it can't get worse, in my opinion. Like, even if you finished 11th or 12th in the league, that's still not getting in the top 4, isn't it?
No, sorry, I'm laughing at that. Listen, mate, tell your dad I'm not tall, so I would not be a good... I'm more a number 10 or a winger. I'm not a striker. No chance.
Attacking fullback.
I've got a better strike than Bobby Firmino, I'll tell you that right now. No, I'm only joking.
As long as you know where the ball is, you'll fit into our squad right now.
Yeah.
Mate, genuinely, I've got a good left foot though. I've got a Facebook video. I'll show you my skills on that. But
you'll have to put it on Instagram.
I'm not a number 9.
Yeah, put it on Instagram. I think it's a good point, lads. I wouldn't be surprised though if Davies does start. We've brought him in. We haven't seen that of him yet. Okay, you got a knock, but he's played probably 200 games in the Championship. Now I know it's a league below the Premier League, but some sources and some of the, I suppose, loyal fans around Preston and Fleetwood, where he was at, will tell you he was an exceptional centre-half at them. So if he's already had it's Championship and League One experience, he's coming to a Premier League side with better players. He's a naturally gifted centre-back. He's a left-sided, isn't he, centre-back? We don't have too many of them. The club Kabak is right. So, I mean... what we got to lose in playing him, he could actually be really good. Apparently, he's very composed on the ball. He's calm. He's good at dribbling the ball.
Yeah, I've watched him quite.
Yeah,
the only criticism is that he's very, very slow. He's not got the pace,
Kabak seems to be a bit slow as well.
He's a rugged centre half though. Like
is he slow or is he like not fast, Bizzle? Like
I think they mean the same thing.
Yeah.
No,
slow or not
fast. Reece Williams for me is like slow, like running. Whereas like there's some centre backs who they're not fast, but like they're reasonable. You know what I mean?
He's a very like traditional centre half in the sense that he's not afraid to get stuck.
That was very David Brent, what I said there.
Glowing commentary, that wasn't it?
I know. If you don't score a goal, you can't win a match.
Put a Michael on as well there.
But
he's very physical defender. He's not scared of a challenge. The championship as well is a very physical league. It's more you have to be very strong in the box, and he is that. So he might be a bit of a breath of fresh air. So it would be nice to see him, considering we've signed him. And like you said, there's not a better time to play him now than playing against Sheffield United.
Yeah, look, Sheffield only got promoted from the Championship a little while ago, so I doubt their football's developed so much that it's changed from the style of football that they were playing in the Championship. So I'm assuming that Davies will be very used to their style of attacking football and their aggression on the pitch. And
if we can't nullify Oliver McBurney and David McGoldrick, who's about 45 years old, then we need some help anyway.
Yeah.
Don't we? So.
We can see the goal against these. Jesus Christ!
I know.
Please don't even talk about it.
You guys, see, in fairness though, see last season we were amazing, and I think Sheffield United played the best against us. I know they're not the same.
But they were good last year though. They were good last year. Seventh.
But that's what I mean. I mean, you think about how like what I mean by that is it's like everybody right now is not going to, like, you got to remember, fear's everything in football and momentum's everything. And Sheffield United, I don't think are going to fear us at all. So I'd be interested to see though if they play like, you know how you're saying like 5 at the back. They kind of play that way, but they actually are quite brave on the ball. Like they do get their centre back. They tried to play us last time, especially at Bramall Lane. So it'd be interesting if they actually copy what other teams have done instead of stick with their football.
Yeah, they have to. I'd be very surprised if they don't sit deep.
They're very similar to us as well, because they've got Lundstrom, who's refusing to sign a new deal at the moment, and he's still getting games and causing a bit of unrest in the team.
You should be thanking him, by the way. He's a decent player, but he's never this level.
They've made him look very good. They've made him look very good in that first season.
Maybe that's a bit harsh for me. I'm probably getting Sheffield United fans getting on at me now, but I just think he's decent. But he's not a world beater, is he? Like I think John Fleck's been really good, but not this season, but last season. But yeah, listen, guys, we'll say this, and then next week we'll be even more angry once we draw 1-1.
I'm not saying no.
Even think about that, because honestly, Everton, I think, was the one that's just like put me right on the edge of the cliff. Yeah, if
2 minutes in the game, guys. 2 minutes in the game. You know that Simpsons meme when he walks in and he walks back out. That was me. Nah. Not today.
I'm going to be on the stream next week saying I want the kit man out.
I know.
That's next.
Something I wanted to ask. Why are we having so many injuries? Because on Twitter I saw someone tweet, why is no one asking questions about Liverpool's medical staff? And I think it's something that
they can't do anything. It's not like they're stabbing players.
It's the congestion of the schedule being so tight together. Like we didn't struggle with it last time because we had lots of days apart between games and fixtures, and we were able to assess the training as and when, and we had a bit more time to rest. Whereas with COVID, we've got a very congested schedule. We've got to cram games in. We've got one eye on the Euros as well, about to come up as well. We're still in the European competitions, so it's very difficult. And don't forget the season kind of like just flowed into this one, as opposed to having any form of pre-season really. So the way the intensity of our game certainly leads to more injuries. However, that should go in hand with having a bit more depth in the squad, which we don't really have. I mean, if we had some competent depth on the bench that we could bring on and rotate with, and obviously now we've got injuries. It's just all kind of snowballed really. It's ever since we lost Van Dijk and we couldn't really replace him. We've had how many 13 different defensive partnerships since Van Dijk's been injured. It's absolutely mad. Yeah,
it's absolute the weekend, no doubt about it. Yeah, I mean, if you have that amount of centre back partners base, like, how do you expect never mind to win a league, but this is
the reality of the problem that we're in.
It's the whole spine of the team gone, and it's communication between centre halves. And I think in the last 2-3 seasons we might have only had 6 or 7. We've had treble that just over halfway through a season. It's madness.
Van Dijk was ever present for 2 full seasons. He played every single game for 2 full seasons, and that was one of the reasons.
Probably would have played every game this season. Just it just nearly snapped his leg off.
Clumsy T-Rex. If he'd have stayed fit, it would have been a different story. And
I agree with the won the league.
And like you said, Darren, it's not just Van Dijk. We lost our spine. Alisson was injured for a number of weeks, and we had to make do with Adrian. Henderson's gone. Fabinho's injured, in and out of the team. All the inconsistencies lead into an inconsistent season, and that's why we're in the trouble we're in now.
And do you think that's because we've done that for 3 years, Bizzle? Like, see how we had that for 3 years, 2-3 years, where other teams maybe had injuries in between it. I know that sounds, I'm not a medical expert, but what I'm saying is, see, because it's been such a congested period now, because we've had the same squad for so many years that it's just hit us like a ton of bricks, if you know what I mean. That's why everyone's picking up injuries.
Depth. I personally believe depth has always been a very big problem with our team. I don't ever think we've had depth since. I'd go as far back as saying we haven't had depth for about 10 seasons. But probably back
longer.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when Rodgers was in charge, we didn't have anyone to bring on that would change a game. We just didn't have that player. We had Thiago Aspas, who was let's face it, a massive flop in terms of the attack. So when we had to rely on a plan B with Sturridge and Suarez, which we never had to do in that first season, but then obviously when we lost Suarez, we brought in 2 very, very mediocre players in Balotelli and Lambert to try and fill the gap. And then that was the kind of caliber that we were relying on, and it's the same. We were getting to a point, I think, where we had good depth this season with Jota, with I'm trying to think off the top of my head, with Chamberlain, with Keita, with the defence not being as depleted as it is now. I think we were getting to that stage, but I still think we are massively lacking in like very good players in order to bring on to change games, especially up front. Like I can't believe how much we're actually missing Jota. Like, you wouldn't have ever thought that at the start of the season. You would have thought Jota's going to be a bench warmer this season. He's going to come on. He's going to get us 5 or 6 goals. He'll rotate with Salah, Mane, and Firmino, and we'll be fine. But we're actually genuinely missing him, and it's mad. It's mad to see, and I think we have a lot of work to do in the transfer market. And I think with the way that Klopp plays, we should be taking into account how many injuries these players are getting, especially when, like, the likes of Upamecano. Apparently he's very injury prone, so I understand why we potentially won't go for him. Like, what's the point? And then you look at players such as Matip, who's got a long list of injury history with us and has been out of the game for a while. You can't. There's no point. There's no advantage to keeping him around. You need to get rid now, and these are the times where you have to rebuild.
And Matip is he also retired from international football there 2 or 3 seasons ago, in order to keep himself fit, ready for Liverpool. He was playing with Cameroon. So for a player that's just playing club football, is he 30 now? Maybe he was the injuries he's getting is phenomenal. So it's a massive shame really for Matip, because every time he come back from injury, he came back like a player that was playing 10 or 11 games in a row. His awareness, his composure, he was very, very good. He just slotted straight in there. So it's a massive shame that he gets the injuries that he does. And now that the fact he's quit international football and he's just playing at club level, you would imagine that would enhance his chances. But it's, again, like Naby Keita, he's probably even worse than Naby for injuries. It's just too many injuries.
Yeah, I think it's a thing. I think it's something we have to take into consideration very seriously with regards to any future signings, because this isn't what we need. Because the intensity we play at, we need players that are athletic enough to cope with it and physical enough to cope with it. And players like Milner have been perfect for the system. They barely get injured. They can run for hours on end if needs be. And same with Mane, same with Salah. You don't really see them getting injured or fatigued as such. And
Robertson's the best.
Robertson, prime example. Yeah, absolutely. And even Alisson's struggling to stay fit. Alisson's getting injured a lot. So it does all come down to, like, how is it a training issue? Is it a fitness issue? Is it the fact that we're signing players that have these injury problems? But there's so many factors contributing to this season. Let's just be honest. Let's just get it out of the way. We'll be back. There's no doubt about it. Like, this is just a very, we're not going to struggle long term for this. We'll be able to put
It's
ourselves
an important
right.
summer though, guys. You don't think it's an important summer? I'm not saying. Listen, I'm not talking about Mbappe. That's not what I'm saying. I just think there is positions that we need to have. You talk about depth. We need a striker in the sense of it doesn't have to be a Haaland or Mbappe, but I do think there has to be a few signings in the summer. And I don't mean like 300 million spent. I'm not saying that. I just think there has to be some smart moves, and Liverpool are very good at that. Jota is the prime example that you can still pull off Mane and Salah signings out there. The typical 35, 40 million signing that people look their nose down at Jota. Go for Jota instead of Werner. Well, that's why we analyse, and that's why it works. So
this relates back to the FSG argument though as well, because it's the same with the Timo Werner thing. Like we got criticised for not signing Timo Werner, but why would you make Timo Werner the highest paid player in that Liverpool team? Because that's what he wanted.
Upsets the apple cart as well. That
and look at him. He's
and
an
then he had the name
flop.
coined in Timo, wasn't it?
Do you know what? Do you know what though, guys? Interesting question, right? I heard this in Australia, right? I'm telling you right now. I think in the future Liverpool would still definitely be interested in going for Werner. Because I think I've watched them, and I think under Liverpool, this thing about people saying, I know Werner's not technically great. It's a bit like Salah is not technically amazing. It's not about that. It's how they fit into systems, right?
Yeah.
And Werner, for me, I know it's not going to happen because Chelsea are not going to sell him. But I'm very thinking the Mo Salah a couple of years ago, he moved somewhere else because Chelsea will cut their losses and Liverpool get him for 35 or 40 million. I still think he could blossom. I still think he could be a major player. I just think Chelsea don't use him properly.
Yeah, players fit into systems. You're dead right. It's like Coutinho. Coutinho's a prime example. He played for us. He was an absolute talisman for Liverpool. He got all the freedom he wanted. He moved abroad for his big move, and he flopped. He went to Bayern Munich. He had an average year. Now he's back in Barcelona, and he's you never hear from him anymore. You're dead right. Like players fit systems. I genuinely think Werner would have fit in our system. He would have been perfect for that fluid front three that we've got, and he would have been able to fill all those positions. And at the end of the day, he's gone. He's gone where the money is. He's not gone where the football lies and the chance to become a top player. And if it came about in the future, I wouldn't be mad if we tried to sign someone like that at all. Really, I don't think
Liverpool are ruling out. I think they'll be keeping an eye on him because I think Chelsea are very quick to cut their losses.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like that. Whereas I think most people you'd say they'll give them a chance, but.
Well, he's still young, isn't he? He's still 22, 23. I think if he could do what Salah's done, he could go and play somewhere else and get a few good games under his belt and get a bit of hype behind him again, and then we could come in for him. It's someone like that. We just need depth in all positions. Like we filled the positions we needed depth at the start of the season with Tsimikas and we got.
Jota and Thiago.
And Thiago. And at the start of the season, you think, oh, great, we'd be rubbing our hands at the start of the season with everyone fit. It's just,
and I was as well. To be fair, I was.
Yeah, well. I was so confident this season with Thiago just adding an extra dimension to that midfield. I thought, it'll bring it in. It'll bring in that unpredictability, and we'll be great. Yeah. But it's just not worked out this season, unfortunately.
What were you saying, Saif?
No, I was just going to say, despite the fact that Thiago hasn't massively well fit into the system, his quality has been phenomenal. We've seen it throughout the season.
Yeah. Still needs to prove it though. It's like people are putting Thiago in the teams of the year. That annoys me. He needs to prove it for Liverpool.
Against Everton, I was frustrated with Thiago, massively with Thiago, because I felt like he was a big point in the pitch that was slowing down our attacks, almost like an anchor for our counter-attacks. And it was frustrating me because the ball was coming to him and he just wasn't looking up, or he wasn't moving the ball forward. He was too cautious on the pitch, and we can't.
He doesn't have any intensity at the moment. He's not learned the Liverpool way of football. That's one thing I have noticed with him. It's one thing I've definitely noticed, that when he's on the ball, it's his pace. He's dictating it. He's finding the pass in his own time, and he needs to learn how we play football, like move it around quickly. It's definitely contributed to the intensity of our games. Like we could. If you've got 9 players in the outfield pitch all passing it around quickly, and then you find Thiago and he slows everything down, it just loses all your momentum. And that's the way that he's been playing. He's been playing in leagues with much slower paces than ours. So he just needs to get up to speed with it. But I think it's the same thing with what happened with Firmino. Firmino didn't know the intensity of the Premier League. Say again.
No, so you develop into it if you've got.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fabinho didn't play a lot. People forget that. Fabinho used to come on for like last 10 minutes and play a game now in the first 3 months. He didn't start every game. Henderson was playing ahead of him because he just looked off the pace. So I'm patient with Thiago. The thing that annoys me though is he's like, he just, see if you're not playing well, don't be complacent in the ball. And I still think he thinks he's got so much time. You might not be fast, Bizzo, and slow it down, but see if you're not playing well, just keep it simple.
Yeah,
and he's got a habit of trying to do too much. I mean, what was the game? Was it Leicester? Worst performance I've seen in midfield all season. Contender, the worst performance by any midfielder. Yeah. Gave the ball away 7 times and kept trying to think, listen, I'm great. No, you're not, mate. Like, you're having a poor game. Keep it simple. And it's like, that's what annoys me about him. And I think he's maybe changed the last couple of games because Henderson's had a word with him a few times, like showing no respect in the sense of, you need to wake up, mate. Like, we're 2-0 up against Leipzig and he gives the ball away in the middle of the park. You can't do that as a midfielder. Firmino is the number 1 suspect to that as well. And it's like, I understand you're an attacker, but use your brain. Like, we're not playing well. Keep it simple. Don't give the ball away. And that's the one thing that annoys me about him. He's been in teams where it's been a case of, we're always doing it. Liverpool can't afford to be like that now. We need to be smart. And
we try and kill games off very early, and we try and get at teams and really attack them from the first whistle. And like you said, when Thiago's on the ball, the tempo is notched down a bit, and he's just looking to find a pass within his own in his own time as opposed to the team's time. Like, there's no intensity, or there's no like piercing passes that he's playing at the moment. It's critical of him at this stage, but I think like you said, he's not had the embedding period that most of our signings have had.
You're amazing.
I think because of that, Bizzo, that we've seen that with Fabinho. I don't think that's why I think opposition fans are trying to, slate him or rip him. And it's like, we're not reacting to that because we've seen that with Fabinho. And I think because we're calm, opposition fans don't like that because, like, as Daz made about the Kai Havertz stuff and the Timo Werner, but because we're patient, and I've been in shows and said, I'm patient, he's not playing well, but I think it'll work out. I don't think opposition fans like that when people nowadays, because we're so impatient as a society.
Yeah, Conroy, you're saying that. I'm not even joking. And I always mention this about Twitter. After the Everton game, even I told you I was frustrated with Thiago's performance in that game. Yeah, I jump on Twitter. Thiago, we need to sell Thiago, get what money we can get for him and stuff like that. And I'm just looking like,
mate, he's 30, so you're not going to get a profit. So I wouldn't worry about it. You know what I mean? Even think of it financially
as well. And I'm just looking at it, thinking, I just don't think you understand that football's a game of development. There was a point where we were drawing 2-2 to West Brom. Do you remember that when Klopp?
Yeah.
And you would have never thought we've gone through this journey that we have. It's all about
Divock Origi equaliser. The man is in the Liverpool history, isn't he? He's there.
We went to Watford and we'd Adam Bogdan and goal. Remember them days?
Adam Bogdan.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I mean, the thing with Thiago, like, even as you say, going on to Twitter, like, I remember when we won the league, it was probably the next day, there was people on Twitter giving out saying, you need to build on something now. That you know what I mean? You're saying, like, we've only won the league last night when was it Chelsea beating City? So you just can't feed into it or take too much emotion out of it. You know what I mean? You just have to sometimes laugh it off and not just ignore the noise.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Bizzo. I think everyone's coming in and out of the conversation at least once now.
Oh, no. Yeah. Bizzo had to go. He just messaged there, guys. Bizzo had to leave.
Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, okay. Yeah. But, to be honest, I forgot what my last point was going to be now. But I feel like just in general, as a fan base, I've noticed so much negativity I haven't seen in a long time. And the last time we were going through such a difficult match, I remember my dad taking me to some of the games and you're just looking at the pitch like, I'm here watching 90 minutes and nothing. And it was frustrating. And I couldn't, to be honest, some of the players on the pitch, like Liverpool fans knew them because they were in our first 11, but half the country didn't even know who on earth they were. And you had like our best player or our biggest faith was someone like Ngog or something like that. Or like Nabil Elzar, do you remember him?
Jovanovic, Elzar, that's a shout.
Voronin.
Yeah, do you know what? Voronin was a weird one because he'd done bits for other teams, It was not good for us.
It never worked at Liverpool. But the thing is, I feel like a lot of the modern fans and have felt that the team's dropped off and that's it. That's the end of the game. But we've gone through difficult times before. and we managed to stay positive. Back then, I didn't have Twitter, I wasn't on Facebook as much and whatnot, so I don't know what general fans' opinions were. But in general, like the people I was around were, all right, it's a bad time, but we're going to build on it. It's a bad time, we're a big club, we're going to build on it. It's going to get better, it's going to get better. And look at it, it took 8 years or something like that to get to the stage that we're at now. In fact, sorry, not it, was it 8 years? Yeah, something like 6 or 7 years actually. And we're at the stage that we're at now where we finally won the Premier League, we won the Champions League. And we're dropping towards the end in a freak season. Like it is, no one can say any different. It's just a wild season. The fans aren't there, which for Liverpool is the 12th man. And then on top of that, so many injuries. On top of that, unfortunately, Klopp's mum passed away. And as much as people want to say that's not going to affect him professionally, it has. We've seen the effect that it's had on him. And then it's just not easy to deal with all of this sort of stuff. And it's a freak season. I think all the players saying, oh, we need the rebuild, we need this, we need that. I don't disagree with the fact that we need a few players. I don't think we need
that's what people think. I don't think they understand terminology. A rebuild, right, it's not a rebuild. It's like just you've got players like Salah and Mane who can still perform, but you've got someone behind them. Like, you know, you're just, there's a few players. It doesn't have to be, people just over exaggerate everything, don't they? That's society nowadays. They just over exaggerate. But safe, you're spot on, mate, because the thing is, I watch the Britannia 6-1 regularly to make me feel quite happy. And then what I would say is, we can't be snobs. There's so many teams that when it gets good, they turn into snobs, and that's what's happening with some of the fans now. And not saying actually the fans, but maybe your Twitter keyboard gangsters. But the thing is, it's called a supporter. So see what you should do is go and watch teams who don't win anything, who just like are happy to, like, you know, stay in a league. You know, they love when their team wins. It's like we're going through a hard period now, but at the end of the day, if we just said, oh, that's it, would just be glory hunting. That's not what it's about. It's about, you know, supporting the team. And it's, do you know what, we need to be patient. The problem I've got is people think criticism is saying, like, you're allowed to criticize and still love the team. There seems to be a misrepresentation that people think you can't criticize. At the end of the day, it's like, this helps get your opinions out, and it's like, we have been predictable. We're predictable FC, and it's we just, you know what? It's good to talk about it, but I think you're so right, Safe, mate. It's like, I remember going to Wigan at Anfield, and it was Morelos, who I actually thought was a decent player, to be fair. I didn't think he was that bad a player. He scored, and then I think I'm sure it was Rodallega, scored for Wigan, 1-1. And I was like, do you know what? It wasn't even like we're relegation then, or it was just, you know what it was? It was just a case of, this is it, that you couldn't see what's happened happen. And that's why I think we just need to take a step back and just be like, do you know what? Crap season, who cares? At the end of the day, just do what you can do. And then
you have to take your medicine, you know what I mean? And sometimes in football, as a party, you just take it, you accept sometimes teams are doing better, your rivals are up there, and that's all you do. You just appreciate the good with the bad. And as I said earlier on, the highs are nothing without the lows, and that's just the life of being a football supporter.
But it's not for some, though, Darren. It's not for some nowadays, because you've got so much money that teams like, you know, Chelsea fans could maybe say that now all they want to do is win. And I'm not saying generalising Chelsea fans, but if you look at City fans as well, there's probably young City fans who like expect to win, whereas there's who are at Main Road Oasis, you know, they're like diehards, and it's a case of they're just can't believe where they are. I think what happens is when you get on a perch, it's like people just they expect that this is it now. But that's not how football works, because there's only one team who can win. The most important thing for Liverpool is, as talk about dynasty, the most important thing is just staying thereabouts, and not, because actually when you look back now, guys, see getting in the top 4 when Gini scored against Middlesbrough on the last day, that was actually huge. That's huge for Liverpool.
Phenomenal.
And that I actually think when you go to the top 4, even if this season, if we don't make it, I'm not going to say it's a big a thing, but whatever happens, we have to look that. I can't see us getting the top 4, but we have to be quite confident on going forward and, you know, being there for the team next season, because they've gave us 3 years of amazing. I mean, even when we didn't win it, we got the Champions League final. I mean, that was a roller coaster in itself. So, do you know what? We're allowed to criticise, but 100% behind. And if anyone says Klopp out, get out the chat, because that's not on.
You can answer.
And some of them supporters that you were talking about that demand instant success and all that, and because they've been brought up into it as a young City or Chelsea fan, maybe they need to just be, I suppose, educated in some way about what football supporters are all about and what football's about, because it is a hobby, it's a sport. Okay, to some people it's more than that, but you can't just expect year after year success. You can demand it, you can ask questions, you can be critical, But that's not going to happen for a sustained period of whatever, 20, 30 years. It's just not. And money is not always going to last at certain clubs either. You know what I mean? Now, Chelsea being fortunate that it's been there probably 20 years now. But
in fairness to Chelsea, though, he always tries to get him to win. And that's what annoys me. Chelsea fans, we've spoken about this before, have a go. Roman Abramovich wants Chelsea to be successful as well. So it's like,
yeah, he does.
When you've got an owner who's like doing that as well, it's not just like he's got deputants who are doing that for him. So I think he's the right guys. We just need to crack. Sorry, Safe.
Yeah. I feel like we've never been one of those clubs that have just spent on our people, on our players.
Would you like to have oil money though? Would you like to have like funds and funds? Because I think what happens is it's like, honestly, Man City, it'd been amazing, right? But I don't want to be sell to buy, but I would just like a little bit more. Like I like the Liverpool. I don't know. Like we've won the league. For me, I was emotional because that's like my full life. We've not, so it was like amazing. Like I don't know if you can recreate that. And I'm not saying we stick with sell to buy, but I don't know, guys. It's like people be watching saying, I'd love to have that much money because you get Mbappe and win the league or compete very highly for 10 years. But I don't know. I don't know if that's in the kind of the blood of the club. You might disagree.
It's not the DNA. No, it's not. And we're not going to start now, are we? So no, I don't agree.
You look at like Leipzig, for example, they popped out of nowhere because they had a massive influx of cash. No one, like, no offense to any Leipzig fans or anything like that, but no one takes them as a serious team, as a team that's been brought up in the culture, that's made a great success of them. They've bought everything that they've had. And it's the same sort of thing you could say to Chelsea when back when they had that massive influx. And the same with Manchester City. They're teams that have achieved stuff. And don't get me wrong, but some of the achievements they've made are fantastic achievements. But for a club like us, the way we achieved it was pretty much a Disney fairy tale. Like,
to a certain extent, we spent quite a bit of money as well. But
I can't deny it. But for someone like Robbo to be playing for a team that was getting relegated, to move to Liverpool and win the Champions League, but that's besides the point, though. Yeah, we have achieved what we've achieved because of a great structure, a great leader, a great team, not because of just money.
Great
and
fans.
I think that achievement is worth so much more. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Great fans too.
Yeah, brilliant point. Great supporters.
The thing is, look at some of these other clubs, yeah, and I figured this out a lot more because I've only pretty much gone to watch big games at Anfield, pretty much, or the odd chance when I've gone to watch the FA Cup in Wembley, and I've never experienced what it's like for other fans. And only when I went to the final in Madrid did I see that not all fans are like Liverpool fans. And the thing is, Tottenham aren't one of those clubs that relies on money, but look at City. If they went to Madrid, do you think they would have done anything like what the Liverpool fans did in that Boss Park Arena, with the Boss Night event and stuff like that? We've got this massive culture of a club that doesn't rely on money, but relies on, and I know it sounds stupid, but and it sounds so cringy as well, but relies on dreams and belief. And that's what we are as a club. And our culture is just, if we turn to money, I feel like that's breaking up a lot of what we are as a club.
But does that come from because we've not had it for so long? Like, I know in Champions League, but see, like you're right, there is definitely a culture. I 100% feel the same because it's just something there. But also as well, like, say, I don't like people have a go at City because, like, really it annoys me is I think any team who wasn't like successful like that would have seen what happened to City in 2011 or 12, when whatever it was, and said, I would love for that to happen to my team. If you know, like a Villa or whatever, something like that, or West Brom. So it does actually annoy me when people say, like, you know, they've got no fans. Well, that's not actually true because, like, there's quite a lot of people with, like, Main Road sold 30,000 out every week season. You know, it's like, I think it's like Liverpool's so unique as a fan base, as you said, mate, that, like, when you go to see a different stadium, because you're not seeing fans like that, it blows your mind a bit. But I feel like fair play to City. Like, I've got nothing against them. The only thing I would say is, like, obviously maybe how they're getting certain human rights with their money is the only thing I would say that causes a stir. But like, but actually them doing it, and I don't like who people have a go at, because it's like that could have been any team. And I completely agree with the fans part, Safe, 100%. I just think it annoys me because people, you hear it all the time. Darren will hear it as well. He's just left. You hear it. It's like, oh, they got no fans. Got no fans. Got no fans. So it's like, come on, that's lazy banter. That annoys me.
Yeah. Sorry, 1 second. I don't know what's happened to Darren. He's like completely frozen and gone sideways as well. But sorry, Yeah, we've got Momo who says, but lads, how do we have a UCL final and then win the Champions League and then the Prem and then still not spend serious money? I mean, to be fair,
I agree with the Champions League. See, we won the Champions League and we only signed Adrian and Seth van den Berg. 100% agree with that. Probably, I'm on the fence with FSG, but you can maybe argue that they were doing that because, one, they knew they didn't have to spend because we just won the Champions League. So not supporters are going to bring the banners out to say we have to buy anybody. But as I said before to you, mate, it's like sometimes, see, when you're on top, you need to spend. And as the thing is we did spend this summer. But I agree with the point. I do agree with the point that I just think you need to be a bit ruthless. Liverpool have got a great sentiment at the club, but right now it's important, I think, to be ruthless when you get the chance. In the sense of Firmino's not performing right now. Try him in the number 10 if you want, but as a number 9, just make the call. We can't do that anymore. And maybe Klopp's bad for that sometimes. Say if he's got his favourites and he sometimes, instead of giving them 2 games, if they're playing poor, he'll give them 5. He's got a habit of doing that, just hoping that they turn round and perform again. So I agree. I think it's a fair point. Like, as I say, I'm on the fence with FSG.
I want to ask both of you, do you think this is a fair statement to make?
What, first and fourth?
Difference between first and fourth is about 30 mil in money.
What, right now?
Well, I'm assuming he means right now, yeah.
See, the thing is, it's like...
Well, the question that I essentially was hoping that I would ask is the fact that are we in the position we are, and City, United, etc., in the position that they are? They spent money and we didn't.
No, I think City have showed that Pep Guardiola's been the best manager this year because he's adapted. He's realised that he can't keep playing it, and he's made little tweaks. And he's also tried things, like he tried the 2 DMs. It didn't work, but he tried it. Whereas Klopp is more stubborn, and it's been successful. But for me, it's like, your dad makes a good point. It's like, but I would argue that Leicester are probably the best run club in the Premier League. They're probably the best at signing players because they signed Fofana. They always seem to... I think they've got maybe the best scouts in the Premier League, and maybe people will argue me on that. But if you look at the amount of people they sign,
sorry.
They sell for a lot of money, and they always manage to get a signing or academy player to fill it. Like, look at James Justin, got him from Luton. He looks great now, but Leicester do that. Leicester actually they back that. They'll say, no, you're from a lower league, but we'll get you to perform. So if you look at what Leicester's doing, I think they maybe show that you can be successful with that method. I know their owners put a lot of money in, but they tend to sell and buy, and it works quite well. I don't know. I think like this season, for me, other seasons, your dad, I'd agree, money sometimes has been the reason. United have spent a lot. Bruno Fernandes has worked out, but a lot of signings hadn't worked out.
Yeah.
But I do think Man City don't concede right now, and then they're destroying everybody with their movement up top. So I just think this season it's just down to Pep Guardiola, because they didn't start amazing as well, but he's recovered with the team. So for me, it's just based on his ability as a coach and a manager, to be fair.
Yeah, sorry, I just have to. Sorry, this is probably the best comment I've seen all night. But Dragons Den sounds like a shout to LFC right now.
That's brilliant, mate. I'm going to use that. I'm going to put it as my caption. That's amazing.
Cousin as well. But so sorry. Here sorry. I just wanted to address Momo's comment here. Yeah. So he goes, yeah, look, business is business. If you only gain money by spending money, and then then my dad replied by saying, Americans see it differently. They will have to build value, and they want to sell, make their profits, and move on. And it's this new style of a club isn't just to throw loads of money at. Like City did that, but that's because they were bought by a guy who just doesn't understand the value of money. But the difference is to build a sustainable club that's going to last a long period of time as a normal business. That's why I'm setting City aside, because they just seem to have an unlimited fund. But as a normal business, is a business that makes money. And FSG, at the end of the day, they're a business. They're not a bank that just lends us money. They're going to give us, they're going to put an influx of money into the team, and they did. But they're going to expect some sort of return on it. Otherwise, why is anyone going to own Liverpool as a business if it's not financially beneficial for them? But yeah, so sorry, that's pretty much what I want to say. So the reward that they gained was from their initial investment, and you got to remember that FSG also developed our stadium. The players that they've signed, they've managed to up their wages so that I think initially where we were spending on average, I think 70 grand a week on a player, the average salary was about 70 grand. It's now up to 110 grand. And then
that is a good point, Safe. That is a good point, because people forget wages cost, it all accumulates to a lot of money.
By the way, like every single week, some of the players that we've brought in, we wouldn't have been able to keep them without FSG, because let's just say some owners out there might not be willing to agree those terms with players simply because it's quite a lot of money that they're asking for. But FSG are giving that money. And that's where the money that us winning the Champions League and stuff, that's where that money essentially goes. We want to keep players happy. Like Salah, I'm not going to lie, or even Wijnaldum to an extent, he's the sort of player that what's it? Oh, I think we last two standing we are. But
I don't know, mate.
But I completely lost track of what I was saying now.
You're saying that you think with FSG they've put a lot in the wages, the ground, the training ground as well. They've made a lot of changes as well.
Definitely. And the thing is, we've got to realise that we're not building a club for tomorrow. We're not building a club for today. We're building a club for tomorrow. A team that's going to be almost not self-sufficient, but a business that's going to be almost sufficient, in the sense that we're not just going to throw loads of money at it, win a few trophies, and then struggle after that, even though that's pretty much what we're doing now. But probably not the best example to use.
No, I think what you're saying, though, is like, see with me is like, I'm on the fence with FSG. I'm not out, or I'm just on the fence in the sense of I educate myself a bit more of the situation. But what I looked into was, the only thing I'd say is your points are spot on, but I would say there's other teams like Leicester who've built a new training ground. So it's not just like Liverpool, which is, it's great they've done that and stuff. But for me, I don't know if you feel like it, mate. Do you feel like FSG are just looking at this like, we're going to do this for a couple of years, make our money, make it a successful business, and then sell it on? Because the value of the team and the club is, I think, I'm not good with numbers, but I think it's like, is it 1.2 billion it's worth now? Like,
so you know what? I've actually spent time just trying to Google a bit about FSG, and it's quite difficult because obviously just different articles trying to look at their business and all that sort of stuff. But they seem to me like a business that's trying to build a large asset value at the moment. And probably for them, the benefit in that is they can obviously borrow a lot more money from the bank with a large asset value and stuff. So they've taken Liverpool and the only reason I know the increase was ridiculous is because LeBron James invested 2 mil or something like that into Liverpool.
I know that's how I know as well.
Ridiculous amount of money. And I know that the club's at such a high value now, and I think they're going to be at a point where they question themselves, is the club going to gain more value that's going to be beneficial to us? Is it going to maintain that value? Or are we going to be stuck in a situation where we have to keep giving the club money for them to either maintain or increase on that value? So will it be financially beneficial to them? So I think they look at it more as the asset and how much it's worth for them. So I think they are trying to grow as a company in terms of building their asset value. So I don't think they're going to get rid of Liverpool. But if it's burning a hole in their pocket, that's a different story.
Yeah, because the only thing that worries me this season is you've heard numerous rumours about, do we need the Champions League to what do you call it, to not kick off, but there's a part of the Nike sponsorship. I'm not saying we don't get sponsored by Nike, but there's something to do with the percentage of the money only kicks in if we get this much percentage, if we get the Champions League. That could be absolutely false. I've just heard a few rumours on that. So,
sorry to cut you off there, but the contract, so I just remembered this from the video I watched earlier on today, the contract that we had with Adidas was for 11 million, and they refused to pay 11 million pounds for that contract. And then we moved to New Balance, which was only a little bit more than that. I can't remember what it was. But then FSG's business managed to get Nike on board for over 31 million or something like that, if I'm not wrong. So you're just talking about these guys have a massive capability of business, and then
they're best at business. Michael Edwards is a prime example of that.
With when we had, for example, they moved from New Balance, which is an American company which works in their fit, well, I suppose Nike as well, but New Balance were trying to have an impact on the European market at the time, which is why they were so invested in Liverpool. But we obviously moved to Nike because it works for the fans as well. Because if you look at Nike, they have over 6,000 outlets, as opposed to, I think New Balance only had 3,000 outlets for fans. And as Darren was saying, some of the fans were having to pay ridiculous delivery costs and stuff like that. By Liverpool.
Great point. That.
But they, as a club, they as owners of the club, don't just look at how we're performing on the pitch. They look at how we're pleasing the fan, how we're going to keep the fans spending money, because it's all good having happy fans, but if the fans ain't spending money, for them, what's the business in it?
Yeah.
That's pretty much how they look at it, as opposed to us as fans, who pretty much only care about our on-field achievements. So I think, to be like, a lot of people on Twitter, blah, 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 they just obviously don't understand the implications of owning a football club. It's not just a small amount of money to throw 120 million there and buy Mbappe for this much and buy this person for that much. They have to be able to have a reason to as to why.
Completely get that, mate. See, the thing for me, as I said earlier, I'm not really the one where it's like, you know, Project Mbappe. I just think there's little things they could have done in the past and going forward that would make fans get more behind them, that wouldn't necessarily break the bank.
Yeah, sorry, sorry, the comments are just throwing me.
No, that's the only thing I've got. And let's be honest, mate, like the fans right now are pretty split. It's quite a positive take today, but if you go online, there's a lot of fans who are
like, we've been quite positive on it. I've watched other podcasts where
I
see people on there, and all of them are just slating FSG. And I feel, look, like for example, you've brought up some criticisms and they're valid. If you criticize FSG, it doesn't mean they need to go. If they make improvements on those criticisms, then you're going to be sitting back like, you know what, they're doing a good job. But it's not about, I have to make this decision right now that I'm FSG in or FSG out. It's about, I think they should do this, or I think they should do that, or I think they're doing this well, and I think they're doing that well. I don't need to choose a side in this matter. So it's only become a thing. It's like pretty much, it all started with Arsene Wenger, this whole in and out business. And you saw what it did to that club. It tore them apart. You have fans, and I'm not going to lie, like, you've got some fan pages that make a joke of the club because it's all about choosing some, well, back then anyways, it was about a tribe. I'm either in the Arsenal in tribe or I'm in the Arsenal out tribe. But as Liverpool, I don't want to become a club like that where the fans are split not because they necessarily agree with FSG in or FSG out. It's just the game's not going well. We're not winning games, so we must say FSG out. We need a big change because they don't understand like all the implications behind what they're actually voting for.
Completely understand it's a business. I think the thing is, say, if they just sometimes there's moments where they could have, it would be a no-brainer. Like the one that got to me was a centre back. Like Liverpool needed a centre back, right? They got a centre back. Yeah, but they should have got the priority. They should have just made a point of getting a priority. Now that's probably because they were not going to sign anybody. Maybe just sign Ben Davies in the last minute. But they got Kabak because I think Fabinho got injured and Matip got injured during that time.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I can't pronounce his name. Is it Kellecar? Whatever his name is, right? Yeah. He was the priority. That's like, I think they've accepted that, but he couldn't leave because Marseille couldn't get another team. That's the one thing that you know what the fans are going to be like, and you know you need a centre back. So why not just get that deal done earlier and not have to rely on Mustafi leaving Arsenal to go to Schalke? That's the one where I just think that's not even fans thinking, that's business sense, because your asset is supported by fans who the sense of will make your life a lot easier, and then you've got a better chance to win the Champions League if you've got someone who's already in the team in January. So there's times where I'm split safe. I don't know if it's like they want to build a big thing with Liverpool, or they're just trying to get as much money as they can, in the sense of not in as much a shady way, but just buy to sell as best they can. And then when it hits a certain number, so say maybe their number is when Liverpool are worth 3 billion or 2 billion, whatever you want to say, they sell it at that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm on the fence right now, mate. I'm not usually, but that's what I'm now.
Look, I feel like a big influence for me being more like of the FSG in sort of thing, why I'm quite content with them staying in charge, is they've proven to us in the past that they are willing to invest money into the club. And I've read a lot of, they take money from England, they take money that Liverpool have achieved, for example, when we won the UCL, and they've reinvested that into Boston Red Sox. Whereas if it's Liverpool's achievement, Liverpool should kind of keep that money, which I understand why people feel that way. But why I'm more FSG in is they've proven to us that they're willing to kind of spend money on the club. They want us to achieve. And it's kind of the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. And
that's a fair point.
It's a way to look at it, because there's been situations with other clubs where, like, for example, I'm not going to lie, I'm sure there's probably an Arab out there that's willing to buy the club, to be honest. And it could be a situation of they come in, they don't understand the runnings of a business. Yeah, they can throw money at it for a couple of years. We might have a bit of success, but are we going to develop as a club is the question. Or is this just something for them to show off to their friends that, oh, I'm so rich, I own Liverpool Football Club? And that's why I don't want to become one of them clubs that we're just a show or we're just a commercial thing. I want to become a club that maintains the values and doesn't just essentially turn on everyone instantly. And I feel like trying to work on that. They've internationalized our club massively in the last, I think, 10 years they've been in charge. They've owned us. They managed to internationalize and globalize the club, but with, I think, having Klopp and everything has managed to help keep a lot of the culture of the club as well. He's focused a lot on that and it being very like Liverpool based sort of thing, as opposed to becoming too commercial. Like,
I think he's been huge for that as well. Obviously, not many managers have a go at the fans, but Klopp backs himself. That's why I love him. But yeah, I know it's a fair point, mate. Actually, that'll get me thinking. Actually, do you know what? When you said better devil, you know, I was like, you know what, you might be right, because it's not like you've got there might be lots of people in for Liverpool, but yeah, that'll be one I think we'll definitely come back to in future videos, because it will definitely come up.
It could be the fact that someone else might come in and just do an absolute job for us, but it's just the kind of situation, and it's the same situation with the manager. I know Klopp out was never a serious thing, but when people are, I'm not going to lie, there's a few particular people that from my YouTube channel, they've messaged me on Instagram and whatnot, and they message me like, oh, we need to get Klopp out of our club. He doesn't really love the club anymore, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, I don't think you guys understand that, okay, he's going through a rough patch at the moment and he will improve. We know what he's capable of. He's brought in players and turned them into superstars, players that would have never had the chance if it weren't for Klopp. People like, for example, Adrian would have never played in a Club World Cup final, or Robertson probably wouldn't have played in the Champions League final, or even Trent for that matter. But Klopp's managed to do this with players that probably never had that chance. And if you want him out of the club, who are we going to have next? You think someone's just going to come and save the day? You think there's always someone better out there than Klopp? But we could be stuck in the same situation with, I don't know, let's just say if we had like Ancelotti or something like that, we could be stuck in that same position and we'll be looking at Klopp saying, oh my God, that manager would be the perfect fix for us.
Yeah, spot on. Couldn't agree more.
Greener on the other side, always. But I mean,
absolutely,
nothing to do with this actual conversation, so they look like they're enjoying themselves.
No, the comments are flying, mate. But no, that was really good, mate. I really enjoyed that, and I think we'll come back to this conversation in the near future, especially in the summer.
The longest stream today. Enjoyed every minute of it, though.
Aye, cheers, mate. Brilliant.
Thank you very much. If you guys haven't, make sure you check out Conroy. Are you going for the YouTube channel? Are you
That'll be soon. That'll be next week. Next week.
Keep an eye out for that, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
No worries, man. We'll see you soon, yeah.
Cheers, mate.